Let your attention settle. There is no need to hold on to any of this. The mind can wander where it likes. We begin with a book that no one can read, written in a script that appears nowhere else in human history. The Voynich manuscript is carbon dated to the early 15th century, but the vellum it's written on came from calves that had not yet been born when the ink was applied. That is to say, the animal skins used to make the pages were taken from unborn calves, which means the parchment predates the writing by a measurable gap. The carbon dating gives us one window, but the biology of the vellum gives us another, and they do not quite align. In 1631, a reprint of the King James Bible contained a rather significant typo in the book of Exodus. The seventh commandment, which concerns taking the name in vain, accidentally omitted the word not from its phrasing. The printers were fined £300 for that error, a substantial sum at the time. Those copies became known as the Wicked Bible, and most were recalled and destroyed, though a few survived. The fine itself tells us something about how seriously they took the precision of the printed word, even when the error was just one small word missing. The Codex Sinaiticus is one of the oldest surviving copies of the Christian Bible, dating to the 4th century, but it contains books that later Bibles do not include. Two of those are the Epistle of Barnabas and the Shepherd of Hermas, texts that were eventually excluded from the standard collection. The Shepherd of Hermas is a fairly long work, written in the 2nd century, and it was widely read in the early centuries. It simply did not make the final cut when the canon was being formalized, though it remained attached to this particular manuscript for over 1,000 years. The Bay Psalm book holds the distinction of being the first book printed in North America in 1640. It was produced in Cambridge, Massachusetts, on a printing press that had been shipped from England. There were only about 1,700 copies printed, and today only 11 are known to survive. One of those surviving copies sold at auction for over $14 million, which made it the most expensive printed book ever sold at the time. The price reflects not its content but its physical rarity, its place at the beginning of American printing. The Gospel of Judas is a Coptic manuscript that offers a different version of the events surrounding the final meal. In this account, Jesus is said to have instructed Judas to betray him, framing the act as part of a larger plan rather than a simple act of treachery. The manuscript was discovered in Egypt in the 1970s, but remained in private hands for decades before being restored and translated. The text does not present Judas as a villain, but as a privileged figure, one who understood something the others did not. It was written in the 2nd or 3rd century, long after the events it describes. The Diamond Sutra, printed in 868 AD, is widely considered the oldest surviving printed book. It was found in a sealed cave in Dunhuang, China, along with tens of thousands of other manuscripts. The cave had been walled up around the year 1000, presumably to protect the contents from invasion, and remained sealed for nearly 9 centuries. The sutra itself is a Buddhist text, but the physical object is remarkable for its age and for the fact that it is a complete printed scroll, not a fragment. The colophon at the end gives the exact date of printing. The Secret Gospel of Mark is a disputed text mentioned by Clement of Alexandria in a letter that survives only in a single copy. The letter describes a longer version of the Gospel of Mark, one that includes additional passages about a young man who was raised from the dead. That longer version has never been found, and most scholars consider it a forgery or a misunderstanding. The only known copy of Clement's letter was discovered in a monastery near Jerusalem in 1958, and it has been the subject of intense scholarly debate ever since. The letter itself may be authentic, but the gospel it references may not exist. The Book of Soiga is a 16th century manuscript that once belonged to the Elizabethan mathematician and astrologer John Dee. It is a book about magic and demonology, filled with tables of letters and numbers that appear to form a cipher of some kind. Dee believed the book contained hidden knowledge, but he was never able to decipher it. The cipher remains unbroken to this day, and the book's contents have never been fully understood. The manuscript is now in the British Library, where it sits as a reminder of how much remains unknown, even in our own intellectual history. The Timbuktu manuscripts are a collection of texts dating from the 13th century, covering astronomy, mathematics, law, and poetry. They were written in Arabic and in local African languages, and they represent a rich intellectual tradition that flourished in the Sahel region. Many of the manuscripts are still unread because they have been damaged by water and insects over the centuries. The libraries that hold them are slowly digitizing the collection, but the work is painstaking and the scale is enormous. There are hundreds of thousands of pages waiting to be examined. The Incan quipu are not books in the usual sense, but they served a similar purpose. These are sets of knotted cords, made from cotton or wool, that recorded information for the Inca Empire. The color, length, and position of the knots encoded data, census figures, tax obligations, perhaps even narratives. The exact system of recording has never been fully deciphered, and the Spanish conquistadors destroyed most of them. What remains is a fragmentary record of an empire that kept its accounts on string rather than paper. Carl Jung's Red Book is a large leather-bound folio that the Swiss psychiatrist filled with his own illustrations and calligraphy between 1914 and 1930. It contains his private visions and fantasies, written in a deliberately archaic style, and he kept it hidden from public view for most of his life. The book was locked away in a bank vault for decades after his death, and was only published in 2009. It is now considered one of the most important documents in the history of psychology, though it remains difficult to read and harder to interpret. There is a term for the study of handwriting as a means of understanding the writer. Graphology examines the size, shape, and slant of letters to draw conclusions about personality and mental state. It is not considered a rigorous science, but it has been used in forensic investigations and employment screenings for over a century. The practice dates back to the 17th century, when an Italian physician published the first systematic analysis of handwriting. It has never quite proven its validity, but it persists as a quiet corner of document examination. The oldest known ink, used in ancient Egypt and China, was made from lamp black, the soot collected from burning oil lamps, mixed with a binding agent like gum arabic. That ink was carbon-based, meaning it did not fade easily and could survive for millennia. The ink on the Dead Sea Scrolls, for example, is still dark and legible after 2,000 years. Iron gall ink, which became common in medieval Europe, was made from oak galls and iron salts, and it has a darker, more permanent quality. It also tends to corrode the paper over time, slowly eating through the pages it preserves. The study of ink itself is called chromatographic analysis, and it allows conservators to identify the chemical composition of a mark. This can reveal whether a document was written in a single sitting or across several years, and whether it was altered later. The analysis works by separating the pigments and binders in a tiny sample of ink, comparing them to known historical recipes. It can detect the presence of iron, copper, or lead, and it can tell you when a particular formula was likely invented. It is a quiet science, rarely noticed by the public. The earliest known example of movable type comes from China, where a man named Bi Sheng carved individual characters from clay and baked them hard for printing. That was around the year 1040, more than 400 years before Gutenberg's press in Europe. The clay characters could be arranged and rearranged for different pages, then reused for other texts. But the Chinese writing system has thousands of characters, making movable type less efficient than in alphabetic scripts. So the technology did not spread widely, and it remained a curiosity rather than a revolution. The Gutenberg Bible, printed in the 1450s, was not the first printed book in Europe, but it was the first to use movable metal type at scale. About 180 copies were printed, and about 49 survive today. Of those, only about 21 are complete. The paper and vellum copies were sold at prices comparable to a house, and they were considered works of art rather than everyday objects. The printing press did not become a commercial success overnight, but it laid the foundation for the mass production of written texts. The practice of numbering pages is called pagination, and it was not widely adopted until the 16th century. Before that, books were often bound with blank leaves at the front and back, and readers would add their own notes and corrections. The first book to use printed page numbers was the Venetian edition of a medical text in 1479. The numbers allowed readers to find passages more quickly, and they also made it easier to produce indices and tables of contents. The system spread gradually, but it was never uniform, and some early printers used different numbering conventions on different sides of the page. The oldest known library catalog comes from the Assyrian Empire, dating to the 7th century BC. It lists the contents of the royal library at Nineveh, organized by subject and title. The tablets were made of clay, and they were stored in specially designed niches within the palace walls. The catalog itself was a massive clay tablet, and it included instructions on how to handle and store the texts. It is the earliest example of a systematic approach to information management, predating the Library of Alexandria by several centuries. The burning of the Library of Alexandria was not a single catastrophic event, but a long decline over centuries. Parts of the library were damaged during a civil war in 48 BC, when Julius Caesar set fire to ships in the harbor. The library continued to function, though with diminished resources, for several more centuries. It was finally closed by imperial decree in the late 4th century, when the political climate changed. The idea that it was burned all at once is a dramatic oversimplification of a much slower and more complicated process. The term bookworm originally referred to the larvae of beetles that eat the glue and paper of old books. These insects bore tiny tunnels through the pages, leaving behind a trail of dust and frass. The damage can be extensive, and conservators use specialized techniques to repair the tunnels without destroying the text. The larvae prefer damp, dark conditions, which is why old libraries are often kept cool and dry. The word itself has been extended to mean someone who reads excessively, but it began as a literal description of a pest. The practice of using a bookmark is older than printed books themselves. In medieval manuscripts, readers would insert strips of leather or parchment to mark their place. The earliest known bookmark was found in a Coptic manuscript from the 6th century, made from a strip of decorated leather. The bookmark was simple and functional, but it was also considered a valuable object, often made from expensive materials. The codex format itself, the bound book of folded pages, was developed in the 1st century and replaced the scroll because it was easier to read and reference. The term bibliomania was coined in the 18th century to describe an obsessive passion for collecting books. It is distinct from the love of reading, which is called bibliophily. Bibliomania involves acquiring books for their physical qualities, their rarity, or their binding, rather than their content. The condition was recognized as a form of mild eccentricity, and it was associated with the wealthy collectors who filled their libraries with first editions and rare bindings. One famous collector, Sir Thomas Phillips, amassed over 40,000 volumes in the 19th century, leaving his collection as a monument to his own obsession. The word codex comes from the Latin codex, which originally meant a wooden block or stump. The term was later applied to a set of wooden tablets coated with wax, used for writing, and eventually transferred to the bound book made of parchment or paper. The shift from scroll to codex was gradual, but it transformed the way information was organized and accessed. The codex allowed for easier cross-referencing and random access, making it superior to the scroll for complex texts. The earliest known examples of paper were not printed on, but written with brushes or pens. Paper itself was invented in China in the 2nd century by an official named Cai Lun. His process involved mixing mulberry bark, hemp rags, and other plant fibers with water to form a pulp, then pressing and drying it into sheets. The invention was kept secret for centuries, but eventually spread to the Islamic world and then to Europe. The transition from papyrus to paper was driven by cost and availability, and by the 14th century, paper had become the standard material for European manuscripts. The study of paper-making techniques is called paper analysis, and it can reveal the watermarks, fiber composition, and origin of a given sheet. Each paper mill had its own distinctive watermark, often a simple design of a circle or a cross, that identified where and when the paper was made. These watermarks are visible when the paper is held up to light, and they provide crucial information for dating and authenticating old manuscripts. The analysis is a specialized field, often used by historians and conservators to trace the movements of books across regions and centuries. The oldest surviving printed book in Europe is not the Gutenberg Bible, but a block book made in the Netherlands around 1460. It is called the Ars Moriendi, or the Art of Dying, and it was printed from carved wooden blocks rather than movable metal type. Block books were cheaper to produce than movable type books, but they were also more labor-intensive, requiring a separate block for each page. The Ars Moriendi was intended as a guide for the dying, offering advice on how to face the end with calm. It was widely distributed and translated into several languages. The practice of adding marginal notes to books is called marginalia, and it has been common since the invention of the Codex. Scholars would write in the margins to correct errors, clarify passages, or offer their own interpretations. The margins of medieval manuscripts are often filled with complex annotations, including the corrections of later scribes. These notes are as valuable as the original text itself, offering a window into how the work was received and understood by its readers over time. They are a form of conversation across centuries. The term illuminated manuscript refers to a text that has been decorated with gold or silver leaf, along with brightly colored pigments. The illumination was a form of reverence for the content of the book, but it was also a display of wealth and status. The materials used were expensive and difficult to procure, and the work was slow and painstaking. The illuminators were often monks, but they were also skilled artisans who could command high prices for their work. The result is a series of objects that are as much artworks as they are texts. The study of ancient scripts is called paleography, and it involves the analysis of handwriting styles to date and identify manuscripts. Each period and region had its own distinctive script, and paleographers can often place a text within a decade based on the form of the letters alone. The field also includes the study of abbreviations, ligatures, and other shorthand methods used by scribes to save space and time. The work is painstaking, but it is essential for understanding the transmission of texts through history. The practice of erasing existing text to write over it is called palimpsest, and many medieval manuscripts are palimpsests. The scribes would scrape off the ink of an earlier text and reuse the parchment, which was expensive. The older text often remains partially visible, and modern imaging techniques can reveal it in detail. The process was common in monasteries, where older works were sacrificed to make room for new ones. The result is a palimpsest of physical and textual history, layered over each other. The earliest known example of punctuation was developed by the Greeks in the 5th century BC. They used dots at different heights to indicate pauses and changes in tone. The system was refined by the Romans, who added the ancestor of the comma and the period. The punctuation we use today was not standardized until the 15th century, when the invention of printing made consistency more important. The spaces between words were also introduced by Irish and English monks in the 7th century, making texts much easier to read. The final fact in this section concerns the world's largest book. It is a set of 3 volumes, each over 12 feet tall, made in the 19th century. The book is a copy of the Flora of the World, a botanical text printed on oversized paper. It is kept in a special case in the British Library, and it requires a crane to turn the pages. There are only 3 known copies in existence, and they are rarely opened. It is a book that will never be read in the conventional sense, but it exists as a monument to the love of printing and the desire to produce something so large it defies practical use. Let the weight of the earth settle beneath you. The ground seems still, but it is never truly at rest. Consider the supercontinent Pangaea, which began breaking apart approximately 200 million years ago. That separation continues today, with the continents drifting at a rate of about 2 to 3 centimeters per year, roughly the speed at which fingernails grow. The exact rate of separation is still debated, because the plates move at different speeds depending on where they are measured. Some plates slide past each other, while others pull apart or push together. The Earth's magnetic poles flip their orientation every few 100,000 years, but the last reversal happened about 780,000 years ago. That means we are overdue for another flip, though the process is not sudden. The magnetic field weakens and then reorganizes itself over a period of centuries, and during that time the protective shield against solar radiation is less effective. Scientists track the gradual weakening of the field today, noticing small changes in the magnetic intensity measured by satellites. The volume of water in the Mariana Trench is impossible to measure with precision, but we know the pressure at the deepest point is more than 1,000 times the standard pressure at sea level. The Challenger Deep, the deepest part of the trench, lies almost 11,000 meters below the surface. The pressure there would crush most submarines, and it compresses the water itself, making it slightly denser than water at the surface. The exact volume remains an estimate, because the trench walls are not straight and the depth varies across the basin. The Permian-Triassic extinction event was the largest mass extinction in the history of life, killing over 90% of all marine species and 70% of land vertebrates. The cause is linked to volcanic activity in what is now Siberia, where lava flowed for 2 million years. The eruptions released enormous quantities of greenhouse gases and sulfur, altering the climate and acidifying the oceans. The extinction was so severe that it took 10 million years for biodiversity to recover. The Sac-Actun cave system in the Yucatan Peninsula is the longest underwater cave network in the world, stretching over 370 kilometers. The caves were formed during the last ice age, when sea levels were lower, and they were later flooded as the ice melted. The system contains fresh water at the surface and salt water at depth, a layering effect caused by the density difference. The caves are home to unique bacteria and archaea that survive in complete darkness, feeding on sulfur compounds from the surrounding rock. The Ring of Fire is a horseshoe-shaped zone around the Pacific Ocean, where most of the world's earthquakes and volcanic eruptions occur. It contains about 75% of the world's active volcanoes, and around 90% of its earthquakes happen in this zone. The movement of tectonic plates creates the characteristic volcanic arcs, such as those in Japan and Indonesia. The zone is not a single fault line, but a collection of interconnected boundaries, each with its own history and rate of activity. The London Hammer is an odd artifact that appears to be encased in rock, estimated to be over 100 million years old. The hammer itself is a 19th century tool, probably dropped into a crack in the rock, and cemented in place by natural processes. The rock formed around the hammer relatively quickly, and the apparent age discrepancy is a result of the rock's composition, not its age. The hammer remains a minor curiosity rather than a genuine geological mystery. The Cretaceous-Paleogene boundary is a distinct layer of iridium found in rock formations around the world. Iridium is rare on the Earth's surface, but common in asteroids, and the layer is evidence of a massive impact about 66 million years ago. The impact crater, located in the Yucatan Peninsula, is nearly 200 kilometers in diameter. The event triggered tsunamis, fires, and a global winter that led to the extinction of the dinosaurs, along with many other species. Mount Everest, the highest mountain on Earth, is composed of marine limestone, which means the summit was once at the bottom of an ocean. The rock contains fossilized sea creatures, including trilobites and ammonites, that lived when the region was underwater. The Indian tectonic plate collided with the Eurasian plate, uplifting the seabed and pushing it to its current height. The collision continues today, and the mountain grows by a few millimeters each year. The maximum depth of the Mariana Trench is often stated as 10,994 meters, but the exact number is subject to measurement errors. Different expeditions have produced slightly different figures, depending on the equipment used and the precise location of the measurement. The depth is measured by sonar, which sends sound waves to the bottom and times their return. The margin of error is a few meters, but that error represents a significant fraction of the total depth. The exact configuration of Pangaea is still disputed because the position of the continents over time is inferred from geological data and magnetic readings. The process is called polar wandering, and it involves analyzing the magnetic alignment of ancient rocks. The rocks preserve the orientation of the Earth's magnetic field at the time they formed, providing clues about their location. Different data sets sometimes produce conflicting reconstructions, and the debate continues among geologists. The Taklamakan Desert in China is one of the largest shifting sand deserts in the world, with dunes that move constantly in the wind. The exact boundaries of the desert shift over time as the sand advances and retreats, making it difficult to map accurately. The desert lies in a basin surrounded by mountains, which trap the sand and prevent it from escaping. The shifting nature of the dunes creates a landscape that is never quite the same from one year to the next. The study of the Earth's structure is called geology, a term that comes from the Greek words for earth and study. The field includes the examination of rocks, minerals, and fossils, as well as the processes that shape the surface. Geology is divided into several subfields, including geophysics, which studies the physical properties of the Earth, and geochemistry, which examines its chemical composition. The study of the Earth is as much about the present as it is about the past. The Earth's crust is divided into tectonic plates that float on the underlying mantle. The plates are made of solid rock, but they move because the mantle beneath them is slowly convecting. The process is driven by heat from the Earth's core, which rises toward the surface and then cools and sinks. The movement is slow, just a few centimeters per year, but over millions of years it can shift continents across the globe. The fastest known plate movement occurs in the Pacific Ocean, where the Pacific plate moves about 10 centimeters per year. The slowest plate movement occurs in the Atlantic Ocean, where the North American and Eurasian plates move about 2 centimeters per year. The difference in speed is due to the geometry of the plate boundaries and the forces acting on them. The faster-moving plates tend to be those that are sinking into the mantle, pulling the rest of the plate along. The Earth's inner core is solid iron and nickel, about the size of the Moon, and it is approximately 5,000 degrees Celsius. The temperature is equivalent to the surface of the Sun, but the enormous pressure keeps the core solid rather than liquid. The core is surrounded by a liquid outer core, which generates the Earth's magnetic field through a process called convection. The solid inner core grows slowly as the liquid outer core cools and solidifies, adding about 1 millimeter per year. The Earth's mantle is the layer between the crust and the core, extending to a depth of about 2,900 kilometers. The mantle is composed of silicate rocks that are rich in magnesium and iron. The uppermost part of the mantle is cool and rigid, forming the lithosphere along with the crust. The lower mantle is hotter and more plastic, allowing the tectonic plates to glide over its surface. The study of earthquakes is called seismology, a field that uses the vibrations generated by quakes to map the Earth's interior. The waves pass through different layers at different speeds, revealing the structure of the Earth like a medical scan. The technique has allowed seismologists to identify the boundaries between the crust, mantle, and core, as well as the variations in density and composition within each layer. The field is essential for understanding both the Earth's structure and its history. The Earth's surface is composed of 3 major types of rock: igneous, sedimentary, and metamorphic. Igneous rock forms from the cooling of magma, sedimentary rock from the accumulation of sediment, and metamorphic rock from the alteration of existing rock under heat and pressure. The 3 types are part of a cycle that continually reshapes the surface, with rocks being eroded, buried, melted, and reformed over millions of years. The phenomenon of continental drift was first proposed by Alfred Wegener in 1912, but his ideas were not widely accepted until the 1950s. Wegener noted the fit of the continents, the distribution of fossils across them, and the similarity of rock formations. His evidence was compelling, but he could not explain the mechanism driving the movement. The discovery of plate tectonics in the 1960s provided that mechanism, confirming his observations. The zone where two tectonic plates meet is called a boundary, and there are three types: divergent, convergent, and transform. Divergent boundaries occur where plates move apart, creating new crust. Convergent boundaries occur where plates move together, destroying crust. Transform boundaries occur where plates slide past each other, creating friction and earthquakes. The San Andreas Fault in California is a well-known example of a transform boundary. The Himalayas continue to rise because the Indian plate is still pushing into the Eurasian plate. The mountain range grows at a rate of about 5 millimeters per year, though the growth is offset by erosion. The movement creates earthquakes, some of which have been devastating. The collision that formed the Himalayas began about 50 million years ago, and it is still ongoing, with no end in sight. The Earth's longest mountain range is not on land but underwater. The Mid-Atlantic Ridge extends for over 16,000 kilometers, stretching from the Arctic Ocean to the Southern Ocean. The ridge is a divergent boundary, where new crust is formed as the plates pull apart. The activity creates hydrothermal vents that support unique ecosystems, communities of organisms that thrive in the absence of sunlight. The term fault line refers to a fracture in the Earth's crust, where movement has occurred. Faults can be small, spanning just a few meters, or they can be thousands of kilometers long. The movement along a fault can be sudden, as in an earthquake, or gradual, as in creep. Faults are classified by the direction of movement: normal, reverse, and strike-slip. The classification helps geologists understand the forces acting on the crust. The study of volcanoes is called volcanology, a field that includes the monitoring of volcanic activity and the prediction of eruptions. Volcanologists use seismometers, gas detectors, and satellite imagery to track changes in a volcano's behavior. The field is essential for public safety in regions with active volcanoes, such as Indonesia, Italy, and the western United States. The science has advanced significantly in recent decades, but eruptions remain difficult to predict with precision. The Earth's oldest rocks are found in the Canadian Shield, dating to about 4 billion years ago. The rocks have survived multiple cycles of erosion and uplift, and they contain clues about the early history of the planet. The oldest known rock is a sample of granite from the Acasta River, dated to 4.03 billion years. It is a small fragment of the Earth's earliest crust. The Earth's youngest rocks are found at mid-ocean ridges, where new crust is continuously being formed. The rocks are basaltic in composition, the same as the lava that erupts at volcanoes in Hawaii. The new crust is gradually pushed away from the ridge, creating the pattern of magnetic stripes that helped confirm the theory of plate tectonics. The process is slow, but it has been happening for millions of years. The phenomenon of a magnetic reversal is called a geomagnetic excursion, and it has happened many times in the Earth's history. The reversals are recorded in the magnetic minerals of rocks, which preserve the orientation of the field at the time they cooled. The pattern of reversals has been used to create a magnetic timescale, which allows geologists to date rocks and correlate formations across continents. The timescale is a powerful tool for understanding the history of the Earth. The Earth's magnetic field is generated by the movement of molten iron in the outer core, a process called the geodynamo. The movement creates electric currents, which in turn create the magnetic field. The field is not uniform. It is stronger near the poles and weaker near the equator. The field acts as a shield, protecting the surface from the charged particles of the solar wind. Without the shield, the atmosphere would be eroded, and life as we know it would not exist. The Earth's axis is tilted at an angle of about 23.5 degrees relative to its orbit around the Sun. The tilt causes the seasons, as different parts of the planet receive more direct sunlight at different times of the year. The tilt is not constant. It varies over a cycle of about 41,000 years, influenced by the gravitational pull of the moon and planets. The variation affects the intensity of the seasons and contributes to long-term climate change. The Earth's orbit around the Sun is not a perfect circle, but an ellipse, which means the distance between the Earth and the Sun varies throughout the year. The Earth is closest to the Sun in early January and farthest in early July. The variation in distance is small, about 3%, but it affects the amount of solar radiation received. The point of closest approach is called perihelion, and the point of farthest distance is called aphelion. The final fact in this section concerns the Earth's rotation, which is gradually slowing down. The day is about 2 milliseconds longer than it was a century ago, due to the tidal friction caused by the moon. The slowing is so small that it is barely detectable, but it accumulates over geological time. The process will continue until the Earth's rotation is synchronized with the moon's orbit, a state called tidal locking. That event is billions of years away, but it is the eventual fate of the Earth-Moon system. Let the straight lines of the world soften now. The border between the United States and Canada is often called the longest undefended border in the world, but it was not always so peaceful. The boundary was officially fixed at the 49th parallel in 1846, after decades of disputes and minor skirmishes. The line stretches over 5,000 miles, from the Atlantic to the Pacific, and it is marked by a series of monuments and reference points. The treaty that established it was called the Oregon Treaty, and it resolved a territorial dispute that had been brewing for years. The Four Corners Monument in the American Southwest is a popular tourist destination, but it is not exactly at the 37th parallel as it was meant to be. The original surveyors made a small error, and the monument stands about 1.8 miles north of the intended line. The error was discovered later, but the monument was left in place, and the borders of the 4 states were adjusted to meet it. The site remains the only place in the United States where 4 state boundaries meet. The village of Bar-le-Hertog, on the border between Belgium and the Netherlands, contains one of the most complex territorial boundaries in the world. The border runs through buildings, across streets, and even through the middle of a few houses. In some cases, the front door is in one country and the kitchen is in another. The confusion dates back to medieval land divisions, which were never fully rationalized. The residents have adapted to the situation, and many of them have 2 postal addresses. The Great Wall of China is not a single continuous wall, but a series of overlapping walls built by different dynasties over thousands of years. The walls were constructed at different times and for different purposes, and they do not all connect. The earliest sections were built in the 7th century BC, while the most famous sections date to the Ming dynasty, around the 15th century. The total length of all the walls, including branches and natural barriers, is estimated at over 21,000 kilometers. The Mason-Dixon line was originally surveyed in the 1760s to resolve a border dispute between the colonies of Pennsylvania and Maryland. The line was named after the 2 surveyors, Charles Mason and Jeremiah Dixon, who spent 5 years measuring the boundary with extraordinary precision. The line later became culturally significant as the division between the free states and the slave states, but its original purpose was purely cartographic. The survey was a remarkable achievement given the tools available at the time. The Berlin Wall was about 155 kilometers long, but the exact location of the inner and outer walls is still debated. The wall was built in 1961 and stood for 28 years, dividing the city into east and west. The inner wall was the most heavily fortified, with guard towers, barbed wire, and a death strip. The outer wall was less secure, but it still served as a formidable barrier. The exact alignment of the walls was redrawn several times during the wall's existence. The McDonald's in Bar-el-Hertog has a unique distinction. The front door is in Belgium, but the kitchen is in the Netherlands. This means that the fries are technically cooked in one country and served in another. The restaurant has become a tourist attraction, with visitors posing for photos at the borderline marked on the floor. The situation is a result of the complex border described earlier, which cuts through the building itself. The Treaty of Tordesillas, signed in 1494, divided the world between Spain and Portugal along a meridian line. The line was intended to resolve disputes over newly discovered lands, but its exact position was disputed from the start. The treaty was ratified by the Pope, but the agreement was more symbolic than practical, and it was largely ignored by other European powers. The line had no real effect on the actual colonization of the Americas, which was determined by the actions of the powers on the ground. The U.S.-Mexico border stretches for 1,954 miles, but parts of it follow the meandering course of the Rio Grande River. The river changes course over time, which creates periodic disputes over the exact boundary. The border was established in 1848 after the Mexican-American War, and it has remained largely unchanged since then. The river shifts naturally, and the boundary is adjusted accordingly, though not always without controversy. The border between Belgium and the Netherlands is so complex that some houses have two postal addresses, one in each country. The addresses are associated with the side of the house on which the front door is located, but the residents often have the option of choosing which address to use. The postal systems of both countries deliver to the same building, and the residents simply use the address that is most convenient. The arrangement is a practical solution to an unusual problem. Hadrian's Wall in England is 73 miles long, and it was built by the Romans in the 2nd century. The exact purpose of the wall is still debated. It was likely a defensive structure, but it may also have been a customs barrier. The wall was built under the orders of the Emperor Hadrian, and it marked the northern frontier of the Roman Empire in Britain. The wall was manned by garrisons of soldiers stationed in the forts along its length. The study of borders and boundaries is called political geography, a field that includes the analysis of how lines on maps shape human interaction. The field examines the historical and social effects of borders, as well as the processes by which they are created and maintained. Political geography is closely related to cartography, but it is also concerned with the practical effects of borders on daily life. The discipline has become increasingly relevant as globalization challenges the idea of fixed national boundaries. The most heavily fortified border in the world is the Korean Demilitarized Zone, which separates North and South Korea. The zone is about 250 kilometers long and 4 kilometers wide, and it is filled with landmines, barbed wire, and military installations. The border was established after the Korean War in 1953, and it has remained largely unchanged ever since. The zone is one of the most dangerous places on Earth, but it is also a surprising wildlife sanctuary. The longest continuous border in the world is between the United States and Canada, at over 8,000 kilometers if you include both the land and water boundaries. The border is also one of the most heavily surveyed, with thousands of markers and monuments along its length. The surveying was a monumental task, carried out over decades by teams of surveyors who worked in difficult conditions. The accuracy of the survey is remarkable, given the technology available at the time. The concept of a border is relatively recent in human history. For most of history, boundaries were defined by natural features such as rivers, mountains, and coastlines. The idea of drawing a line on a map and calling it a border only became common in the 16th century, as European powers competed for territory. The concept was later applied to the rest of the world through colonialism, creating borders that often ignored local cultural and historical realities. The word boundary comes from the Old French bond, which means a limit or a line. The term was originally used to describe the limits of a field or a property, and it was later extended to larger territorial divisions. The word is related to bound, which means to tie or to enclose, reflecting the idea of a boundary as a line that encloses territory. The concept is both physical and legal, defining the extent of jurisdiction and control. The practice of creating maps is called cartography, a field that combines science, art, and politics. Cartographers decide what to include and what to leave out, and their choices can have profound effects on how people understand the world. The field has evolved over centuries, from hand-drawn maps to the digital representations used today. The discipline is essential for planning, navigation, and diplomacy. The most southerly city in the world is Ushuaia, in Argentina, which lies at the tip of South America. The city is about 55 degrees south of the equator, and it is known as the gateway to Antarctica. The city has a population of about 70,000, and it is a popular destination for cruise ships heading to the southern continent. The southernmost point of South America is Cape Horn, which is further south than Ushuaia, but it is not a city. The most northerly permanent settlement in the world is Svalbard, a Norwegian island group about 600 miles from the North Pole. The settlement has a population of about 2,000, and it is home to a research community and a seed vault. The island is covered in ice and snow for much of the year, and it is only accessible by air or sea during the summer months. The settlement is a testament to human endurance in extreme conditions. The term prime meridian refers to the 0-degree line of longitude, which passes through Greenwich, England. The line was chosen in 1884 at an international conference, replacing earlier prime meridians used by different countries. The line is used as the basis for the time zones, with each zone defined by its distance from the meridian. The meridian is marked by a stainless steel line in the observatory courtyard. The international date line runs roughly along the 180-degree meridian opposite the prime meridian. The line is not straight, it zigzags to avoid splitting islands and countries. The date line is the point where the date changes, and crossing it requires adjusting the calendar by 1 day. The line was established in the 19th century, and it has been adjusted several times since. The study of how borders affect culture and language is called linguistic geography, a field that examines the distribution of language across boundaries. The field identifies dialect boundaries and language families, and it explores how linguistic features are influenced by political and physical borders. Linguistic geography has contributed to the understanding of how languages evolve and spread. The border between India and Pakistan is one of the most heavily guarded in the world, with thousands of troops stationed along its length. The border was established in 1947, following the partition of British India. The line is marked by barbed wire and floodlights, and it is patrolled by armed forces on both sides. The border has been the site of numerous conflicts, and it remains a source of tension between the two countries. The concept of a frontier is different from a border. A frontier is a zone of contact and interaction between different groups, while a border is a fixed line. The distinction is important for understanding the history of many regions, where the frontier was the space where cultures met and mingled. The concept has been particularly influential in the history of the United States, where the frontier was a central theme in the development of the nation. The word cartography comes from the Greek charts, meaning a sheet of papyrus, and graphein, meaning to write. The term was coined in the 19th century, reflecting the growing importance of maps in the modern world. Cartography has evolved significantly since then, with the use of satellites and computer technology. The longest artificially created border is the one between Russia and China, which stretches over 4,000 kilometers. The border was established through a series of treaties and negotiations, and it is marked by rivers, mountains, and defined lines. The border is important for trade and diplomacy, and it is patrolled by both countries. The study of the history of surveying is called historical metrology, which examines the tools and techniques used to measure the Earth. The field includes the study of early instruments, such as the theodolite and the chain, and the mathematical methods used to solve surveying problems. The history of surveying is closely tied to the development of geometry and trigonometry. The concept of a border as a line on a map is relatively recent, but the idea of a boundary as a zone of control is much older. The Roman Empire used rivers, mountains, and artificial barriers, such as Hadrian's Wall, to mark the limits of their territory. The empire also used buffer zones, such as the Scottish lowlands, which were not fully integrated into the empire. The final fact in this section concerns the border between Spain and Morocco, which is the shortest international border in the world. It is a narrow strip of land, less than 100 meters long, located at the city of Melilla. The border is heavily fortified, with high fences and military patrols on both sides. It is a tiny line with enormous significance, a reminder that borders are not always about length, but about the intensity of the division they represent. Let the weight of objects settle into the quiet dark. The Antikythera mechanism is a 2,000-year-old analog computer discovered in a shipwreck off the coast of Greece. It was built to track astronomical cycles, calculating the positions of the sun, moon, and planets with remarkable precision. The device consists of a series of bronze gears, nested together like the workings of a complex clock. It was found in fragments, and it took decades of study to understand its true purpose. The mechanism was recovered in 1901, but it was not until the 1970s that X-ray imaging revealed its inner structure. The device was sophisticated, far beyond what was thought possible for its time. The Baghdad battery is a clay jar from ancient Mesopotamia, containing a copper cylinder and an iron rod. The jar dates to around the 1st century AD, and it is believed to have been a galvanic cell. When filled with an acidic liquid such as vinegar, it could have produced a small electric current. The exact purpose of the battery is unknown, but it may have been used for electroplating, a process that deposits a thin layer of metal onto a surface. The battery is a single example of what might have been a more common technology. The Lydian lion are the oldest known coins in the world, minted in the 7th century BC. They were made of electrum, a naturally occurring alloy of gold and silver. The coins were stamped with a lion's head, the symbol of the Lydian kings. The exact value of each coin was determined by its weight, and the stamp guaranteed its purity. The Lydians were the first to use coins as currency, and their inventions spread throughout the ancient world. The Tolland man is a naturally mummified body found in a peat bog in Denmark. He dates to the 4th century BC, and he was preserved by the acidic, oxygen-free environment of the bog. The man was hanged, with a rope still around his neck, and his body was placed in the bog as a ritual offering. His features are remarkably well preserved, including the faint stubble on his chin. The discovery of the body has shed light on the practice of human sacrifice in ancient Scandinavia. The Nebra sky disk is a bronze disk from about 1600 BC, inlaid with gold symbols representing the sun, moon, and stars. The disk was found in Germany, and it is considered one of the oldest known depictions of the cosmos. The gold inlays include a crescent moon, a cluster of stars, and what appears to be a solar boat. The disk was buried with a hoard of weapons and other artifacts, suggesting it was a ritual object of great importance. The exact meaning of its symbols remains a subject of debate. The Phaistos disk is a clay disk from the 15th century BC, covered with a spiral of symbols on both sides. The disk was found in Crete, and its symbols have never been deciphered. The symbols are stamped onto the clay, suggesting a form of movable type. The disk is unique, and it has no known parallel in any other culture. The language it represents is unknown, and the disk remains one of the great unsolved mysteries of archaeology. The Rosetta Stone was found in 1799 by French soldiers in Egypt, and it enabled the translation of Egyptian hieroglyphs. The stone is a fragment of a larger stele, inscribed with a decree in 3 scripts: Greek, Egyptian hieroglyphs, and Demotic. The Greek text was used as a key to unlock the other 2 scripts. The stone was later taken by the British and is now in the British Museum. The translation of the hieroglyphs opened the door to the study of ancient Egypt. The Nok terracottas are a collection of sculptures from Nigeria, dating from 500 BC to 200 AD. They depict human figures with stylized features, often wearing elaborate jewelry and headdresses. The sculptures are made from terracotta, a fired clay that is durable and resistant to the elements. The Nok culture is one of the earliest known centers of art in sub-Saharan Africa. The exact function of the sculptures is unknown, but they may have been used in rituals or as representations of ancestors. The Urfa man is the oldest known life-size human statue, dating to about 9000 BC. It was found in Turkey, near the site of the ancient city of Urfa. The statue is carved from limestone, and it depicts a man with a distinctive beard and a calm expression. The figure holds a small object in his hands, perhaps a staff or a symbolic item. The statue was discovered during construction work and is now in a local museum. The Sutton Hoo burial site in England contains a ship burial and a hoard of treasures, dating to about 620 AD. The grave goods include a helmet, a shield, and gold jewelry, all of exceptional quality. The site is one of the most important archaeological discoveries in British history. The burial is believed to be that of an Anglo-Saxon king, though his identity remains unknown. The objects are now in the British Museum, where they continue to attract visitors. The macuahuitl is an Aztec weapon made from a wooden club edged with obsidian blades. It was used in the 15th century and was known for its sharpness. The obsidian blades could cut through flesh and bone with ease, making the weapon highly effective in battle. The macuahuitl was a symbol of Aztec warfare and was often decorated with elaborate carvings. The weapon is a testament to the skill of Aztec craftsmen. The study of artifacts is called archaeology, a field that combines history, science, and anthropology. Archaeologists use a variety of techniques to unearth and analyze objects from the past, including excavation, dating, and conservation. The field has evolved significantly over the centuries, with new technologies such as LiDAR and DNA analysis providing new insights. Archaeology helps us understand how people lived, worked, and died in the past. The oldest known wooden artifact is a spear tip from Germany, dating to about 300,000 years ago. The spear was made from a single piece of wood, and it was sharpened and fire-hardened for hunting. The artifact was preserved in a peat bog, which prevented it from decaying. The spear is a remarkable example of early human technology, showing that wooden tools were used long before the advent of metalworking. The oldest known metal artifacts are small copper beads from Turkey, dating to about 7500 BC. The beads were made by hammering native copper into shape, without smelting. The copper was found in its pure form, and it was worked cold. The beads are simple, but they represent the first use of metal in human history. The discovery of smelting, which allowed the extraction of copper from ore, came later. The oldest known textile is a piece of flax from Israel, dating to about 14,000 years ago. The textile was made from flax fibers, which were twisted and woven into a simple fabric. The discovery was made at a site called Ohalo II, which was preserved by its underwater location. The textile is a testament to the ingenuity of early humans, who were using plant fibers to make clothing and other items. The oldest known pottery is from Japan, dating to about 16,000 years ago. The pots were made from clay and fired in open fires, and they were used for cooking and storage. The pottery is a sign of a more sedentary lifestyle, as hunter-gatherers began to settle in one place. The invention of pottery allowed for the storage of food and water, a key development in human history. The oldest known bone tool is a harpoon from Africa, dating to about 90,000 years ago. The harpoon was made from a piece of bone, carved into a barbed shape for catching fish. The tool was found at the site of Katanda in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The harpoon shows that early humans were using sophisticated techniques for fishing, long before the development of agriculture. The oldest known sculpture is the Venus of Hohlefels, a small ivory figurine from Germany, dating to about 40,000 years ago. The figurine is a depiction of a woman with exaggerated features, and it is one of the earliest examples of figurative art. The discovery of the Venus of Hohlefels has challenged previous ideas about the development of art in Europe. The figurine was found in a cave, along with other tools and artifacts. The oldest known musical instrument is a flute from Germany, made from the bone of a vulture dating to about 43,000 years ago. The flute has 5 finger holes and a carved mouthpiece, and it is capable of producing a range of notes. The discovery shows that music was important in the lives of early humans. The flute was found in a cave, along with other artifacts from the same period. The oldest known cave paintings are in France, dating to about 40,000 years ago. The paintings depict animals, including horses, bison, and lions, rendered in black and red pigments. The paintings were created in deep caves, far from natural light, suggesting they had a ritual or ceremonial purpose. The discovery of the paintings has challenged previous ideas about the cognitive abilities of early humans. The oldest known map is a clay tablet from Mesopotamia, dating to about 2300 BC. The tablet shows the city of Nippur, with its canals and walls clearly marked. The map is an early example of cartography, showing that the Babylonians had a systematic approach to representing their environment. The tablet is one of many that have been discovered in the region. The oldest known astronomical instrument is a bone from Africa, dating to about 35,000 years ago. The bone is a carved piece of animal bone, which has been interpreted as a lunar calendar. The marks on the bone follow a pattern, suggesting that they were used to track the phases of the moon. The bone is a testament to the early development of astronomy. The oldest known piece of writing is a clay tablet from Mesopotamia, dating to about 3400 BC. The tablet is a record of goods, listing quantities of barley and other agricultural products. The writing is a form of proto-cuneiform, a system of pictures that were later developed into the writing system of the Sumerians. The tablet is a key piece of evidence in the study of the origins of writing. The oldest known form of counting is the tally stick, which is a piece of wood or bone with notches carved into it. The tally sticks were used to count livestock, measure goods, and keep track of time. The method was developed independently in various parts of the world. The tally stick is a simple tool, but it represents the first step toward the development of mathematics. The oldest known system of measurement is the Egyptian cubit, which was used to measure length. The cubit was based on the length of the forearm from the elbow to the tip of the middle finger. The cubit was divided into smaller units, and it was used in construction and surveying. The standardization of the cubit was an important step in the development of civilization. The final fact in this section concerns the oldest known object made of iron. It is a set of beads from Egypt, dating to about 3300 BC. The iron was not smelted, but was derived from a meteorite, which is why it was available to early metalworkers. The beads were hammered into shape and used as ornaments. The meteorite iron was a rare and valuable material, and the beads were prized for their hardness and their unusual origin. Let the numbers fade into the background now. The Domesday Book is a survey of England commissioned in 1085 by William the Conqueror. It records the ownership of land, livestock, and other resources across the kingdom, but it does not cover London or Winchester. Those cities were excluded for reasons that are not entirely clear, perhaps because of their special status. The survey was designed to establish the king's authority and to assess tax obligations, and it remains one of the most complete records of medieval England. The Magna Carta, signed in 1215, is often celebrated as the first Charter of Rights, but it was not the first. The Charter of Liberties preceded it by over a century, issued by Henry I in 1100. The earlier charter promised to limit the king's power and to protect the rights of the Church, but it was quickly forgotten. The Magna Carta built on that precedent, though it too was reissued and revised multiple times before taking its place in history. The Library of Alexandria was not destroyed in a single catastrophic event, as is often believed. The library declined gradually over several centuries, losing its collection to a series of fires, thefts, and neglect. The most famous fire, set by Julius Caesar in 48 BC, damaged the library, but did not destroy it completely. The library was rebuilt and continued to operate, though with diminished resources, until it was finally closed in the late 4th century. The Inca quipu are sets of knotted cords that served as a record-keeping system for the Inca Empire. Each knot and its position on the cord represented a numerical value, and the colors of the cords conveyed additional information. The exact decimal system used is still debated among scholars because the Spanish destroyed most of the quipu after the conquest. The surviving examples provide only a partial picture of how the system worked. The Roman census was conducted every 5 years to count citizens and assess their property for taxation purposes. The figures from different censuses vary greatly, reflecting changes in the population and in the definition of citizenship. The censuses were a key tool for managing the empire, and they were used to determine military service obligations. The Roman system was sophisticated, but the numbers were not always reliable. The Ming Dynasty census of 1381 used a yellow register to count households, but the numbers are considered inaccurate by modern standards. The census was designed to allocate land and collect taxes, but it was based on self-reporting, which led to undercounting. The yellow register was updated periodically, but it was never fully comprehensive. The census remains a valuable source of information, despite its limitations. The 100 Years' War was not a single continuous conflict, but a series of wars and truces that spanned 116 years. The war was fought between England and France, with interruptions caused by treaties and periods of peace. The total duration of active combat was much shorter, but the conflict was a defining event in the history of both nations. The war was driven by dynastic claims and territorial ambitions. The Battle of Hastings, fought in 1066, was the last successful invasion of England by a foreign force. The battle was won by William, Duke of Normandy, who defeated the English king Harold Godwinson. The invasion was a pivotal moment in English history, bringing the Norman conquest to a close. The battle is commemorated by the Bayeux Tapestry, which depicts the events leading up to the conflict. The Venetian arsenal was a shipbuilding facility that employed up to 2,000 workers at its peak. The exact number of workers is unknown because the records are incomplete, but the arsenal was one of the largest industrial enterprises in medieval Europe. The arsenal used assembly line techniques, producing ships at a rapid rate. The site is now a museum and a reminder of the power of the Venetian Republic. The Silk Road was not a single road, but a network of trade routes that connected China to the Mediterranean. The routes were used for the exchange of goods, ideas, and cultures, and they were essential for the development of the civilizations along their path. The term Silk Road was coined in the 19th century by a German geographer. The routes were used for centuries, but their importance declined after the discovery of sea routes to Asia. The Lewis and Clark expedition kept detailed journals of their journey across the American West, but the exact count of animals they encountered is still debated. The journals list numerous sightings, but they are not always consistent, and some entries were made from memory. The expedition's observations were essential for the scientific understanding of the region. The journals are now held in the Library of Congress. The Great Fire of London, in 1666, destroyed 13,200 houses, but the exact number is still debated. The fire burned for 4 days, consuming most of the medieval city. The destruction was extensive, and the rebuilding was a major undertaking. The fire was a catalyst for urban planning and building regulations. The study of historical records and documents is called archival science, a field that focuses on the preservation and management of records. Archivists work to maintain the integrity of documents, ensuring that they are accessible to future generations. The field includes the study of the physical properties of documents, as well as their legal and historical significance. Archival science is essential for the preservation of cultural heritage. The earliest known historical records are from ancient Sumer, dating to about 3400 BC. The records were written on clay tablets in cuneiform script, and they include administrative, legal, and economic documents. The Sumerians developed the first known writing system, which was used for record-keeping and communication. The discovery of these records has provided insight into the early development of civilization. The oldest known census is from the Babylonian Empire, dating to about 3800 BC. The census recorded the population of the city of Nippur, with details about family size and occupation. The census was used for taxation and labor allocation, demonstrating the administrative sophistication of the Babylonian state. The tablet is now in the collections of the University of Pennsylvania. The practice of keeping ledgers is called bookkeeping, and it has been used for thousands of years. The earliest known bookkeeping records are from the Assyrian Empire, dating to about 2000 BC. The records were kept on clay tablets, with entries for goods and transactions. Bookkeeping was essential for trade and commerce, and it remains a fundamental part of modern business. The oldest known financial document is a receipt from Mesopotamia, dating to about 3000 BC. The receipt records the delivery of grain and the payment for it. The document is an early example of the use of writing for financial purposes, demonstrating the importance of record-keeping in early economies. The receipt is now in a museum in Iraq. The first known tax records are from ancient Egypt, dating to about 2500 BC. The records list the amount of grain and other goods that were owed to the state. The taxes were used to support the pharaoh and the administration. The tax records are among the earliest examples of state control over the economy. The oldest known inventory list is from ancient Greece, dating to about 1400 BC. The list records the contents of a palace, including jars of oil, weapons, and furniture. The inventory was kept on a clay tablet and is a valuable source of information about the Mycenaean civilization. The tablet is now in the National Archaeological Museum in Athens. The first known bank records are from Mesopotamia, dating to about 2000 BC. The records show that banks were used to store grain and other goods, and they were used for loans and credit. The records were kept on clay tablets, with entries for each transaction. The Mesopotamian banks were the forerunners of modern financial institutions. The oldest known letter is from ancient Persia, dating to about 500 BC. The letter was written on a clay tablet and addressed to a provincial governor. The letter contains instructions about a tax payment and was sealed with the king's seal. The letter is an example of the administrative communication that was essential for the functioning of the Persian Empire. The practice of keeping historical records is called historiography, and it has been developed over thousands of years. The earliest historians, such as Herodotus and Thucydides, wrote accounts of events that were based on oral traditions and written sources. Historiography has evolved significantly, and modern historians use a wide range of methods to analyze the past. The oldest known legal code is the Code of Ur-Nammu, dating to about 2100 BC. The code was written in Sumerian and contains laws related to marriage, property, and criminal activity. The code is an early example of the formalization of law, and it is a precursor to later legal codes, such as the Code of Hammurabi. The final fact in this section concerns the first known postal system, which was established in the Persian Empire in the 6th century BC. The system was composed of relay stations and couriers who carried messages across the empire. The system was known as the Royal Road, and it stretched for over 2,000 miles. The couriers were renowned for their speed and reliability, and the system was later adopted by the Romans. The final tally of messages sent over the centuries is a number that no one has ever attempted to count. Let the quiet classification of life settle around you. The platypus was officially classified as a mammal in 1884, but it lays eggs, a trait that confused early naturalists for decades. A creature has a bill like a duck, a tail like a beaver, and webbed feet, but it produces milk for its young. It took years of study to confirm that the platypus belongs to the monotreme group, a small family of egg-laying mammals. The animal remains one of the most unusual creatures on Earth, a reminder that nature does not always fit neatly into our categories. The eye is a lemur, found only in Madagascar. With a long, thin middle finger, it uses to extract grubs from trees. The finger is so specialized that it can reach into the smallest of holes, tapping on the wood to locate the prey. The eye was once considered a bad omen by local people, and it was hunted as a result. The creature is now protected, though it remains one of the rarest primates in the world. The echidna is another monotreme related to the platypus, and it shares the unusual trait of laying eggs. The male echidna has a four-headed penis, a unique anatomical feature that is not found in any other mammal. The echidna is covered in spines, which it uses for defense, and it has a long snout for feeding on ants and termites. The animal is found in Australia and New Guinea, and it is one of the most distinctive creatures on the continent. The honey badger is not a true badger at all, but a member of the weasel family. The honey badger is known for its tenacity and its ability to resist the venom of snakes, and it is also famous for its fondness for honey. The animal is found in Africa and parts of Asia, and it is considered one of the most fearless creatures in the animal kingdom. The honey badger has a reputation that far exceeds its relatively small size. The naked mole rat is not a mole or a rat, but a type of rodent that belongs to its own family. It is a social animal, living in colonies with a queen and a system of castes, similar to ants and bees. The naked mole rat has a low metabolic rate and can survive in low-oxygen environments. It is also one of the few mammals that is largely immune to cancer, making it a subject of scientific study. The axolotl is a type of salamander, not a fish, and it has the remarkable ability to regenerate limbs. It can regrow not only arms and legs but also parts of its spinal cord and heart. The axolotl is found only in a small lake near Mexico City, and it is critically endangered in the wild. The animal is a popular pet and a model organism for biological research. The dugong is related to elephants, not to whales, despite its aquatic lifestyle and its large size. The dugong is a marine mammal that feeds on seagrass, and it is the only living member of its family. The dugong is found in the warm coastal waters of the Indian and Pacific Oceans, and it is considered vulnerable due to habitat loss and hunting. The animal has a slow reproductive rate, making it difficult to recover from declines. The pangolin is the only mammal covered in scales, which are made of keratin, the same material as hair and nails. The pangolin uses its scales for defense, rolling into a tight ball when threatened. The animal feeds on ants and termites, using its long tongue to extract them from nests. The pangolin is the most trafficked mammal in the world, and all 8 species are protected by law. The pufferfish has a beak of fused teeth, and it is not a fish in the typical sense of the word. The pufferfish uses its beak to crush the shells of mollusks and crustaceans, and it can inflate its body to deter predators. The pufferfish contains a potent neurotoxin, which can be fatal if consumed. The toxin is used in small doses as a delicacy in Japan, but it is strictly regulated. The sloth has a uniquely low metabolic rate, the slowest of any mammal, and it only defecates about once a week. The sloth descends from its tree to the ground to defecate, exposing itself to predators in the process. The animal's digestive system is slow and efficient, extracting the maximum nutrients from its leafy diet. The sloth is found in the tropical forests of Central and South America. The blue whale is not actually blue, but appears grayish-blue, due to the water and its mottled pigmentation. The blue whale is the largest animal ever to have lived, and it can weigh over 200 tons. The animal feeds on krill, a tiny crustacean, and it consumes several tons per day during the feeding season. The blue whale was hunted to near extinction in the 20th century, but it is now protected. The flying squirrel does not fly but glides, using a membrane of skin stretched between its limbs. The flying squirrel can travel long distances in a single glide, steering by adjusting its limbs and tail. The animal is nocturnal and feeds on nuts, seeds, and insects. The flying squirrel is found in forests around the world, and it is an important part of the forest ecosystem. The horseshoe crab is not a crab, but is related to spiders and scorpions. The horseshoe crab has been around for over 400 million years, making it one of the oldest living fossils. The animal has a hard shell and a long tail spike, which it uses to flip itself over. The horseshoe crab's blue blood is used in medical testing, and the animal is harvested for this purpose. The study of biological classification is called taxonomy, a field that organizes the living world into hierarchical groups. The system was developed by Carl Linnaeus in the 18th century, and it remains the basis of modern biology. The classification is based on the physical characteristics and genetic relationships of organisms. Taxonomy is essential for the study of biodiversity and evolution. The golden mole is not a mole, but is related to the elephant shrew and the tenrec, a group of animals found in Africa. The golden mole has no external eyes, and it uses its sensitive snout to navigate. The golden mole is found in the deserts and grasslands of southern Africa. The animal is rare and is considered vulnerable due to habitat loss. The sun bear is the smallest species of bear, and it has a distinctive chest patch that resembles a sunrise. The sun bear is found in the tropical forests of Southeast Asia, and it feeds on insects, fruit, and small animals. The sun bear is threatened by habitat loss and poaching, and it is protected by international law. The animal is a symbol of the conservation efforts in the region. The binturong is a type of civet, and it has a unique scent that smells like popcorn. The binturong uses its scent to mark its territory and to communicate with other members of its species. The animal is found in the rainforests of Southeast Asia, and it is an important seed disperser. The binturong is threatened by deforestation and hunting. The pangolin's scales are sometimes used in traditional medicine, despite the lack of evidence for their effectiveness. The use of pangolin scales is one of the reasons the animal is so heavily trafficked. The trade in pangolins is illegal, but it continues due to high demand. The animal is protected by international treaty, but enforcement is difficult. The study of animal behavior is called ethology, and it was developed in the 20th century by Konrad Lorenz and Nicolaas Tinbergen. Ethologists study the patterns of behavior that are specific to a species, and they seek to understand the evolutionary basis for these behaviors. The field includes the study of migration, communication, and social organization. The aardvark is not a type of anteater, but it is a unique animal that belongs to its own order. The aardvark has a long snout and a sticky tongue, which it uses to feed on ants and termites. The animal is found in sub-Saharan Africa, and it is primarily nocturnal. The aardvark is a solitary animal, and it lives in burrows that it digs with its powerful claws. The okapi is not a zebra, but it is related to the giraffe, and it has stripes that resemble those of a zebra. The okapi is found in the rainforests of the Democratic Republic of Congo, and it is a shy and elusive animal. The okapi was not known to science until the early 20th century. The animal is threatened by habitat loss and poaching. The quokka is a small wallaby, and it is known for its friendly expression. The quokka is found on Rottnest Island in Australia, where it is protected. The animal is known for its distinctive smile, which is a result of the shape of its mouth. The quokka is a popular subject of photographs, and it is considered one of the happiest animals in the world. The final fact in this section concerns the giraffe, which has the longest neck of any animal, but it has only 7 cervical vertebrae, the same number as a human. The neck of the giraffe is elongated, but the vertebrae themselves are larger. The giraffe uses its neck for feeding and fighting, and it can reach leaves that are out of reach for other animals. The neck is a marvel of adaptation, a quiet testament to the possibilities of evolution. Let the quiet hum of measurement fade into the background. The telescope was not invented by Galileo, as is commonly believed, but by Hans Lippershey in 1608. Lippershey was a Dutch spectacle maker who applied for a patent for his device, which he called a perspective glass. Galileo heard about the invention and built his own, improving the design and using it to observe the moons of Jupiter. The telescope became one of the most important scientific instruments in history, but its origins are more modest than most people realize. The barometer was invented by Evangelista Torricelli in 1643, building on the work of Galileo. Torricelli filled a glass tube with mercury and inverted it into a dish, observing that the mercury column rose and fell with changes in atmospheric pressure. The barometer was the first instrument to measure air pressure, and it was essential for the development of meteorology. Torricelli's invention was a quiet breakthrough, but it had far-reaching implications. The thermometer was developed by Galileo Galilei in 1593, though his version was not very accurate. Galileo's thermoscope used a glass bulb with a long neck, which was inverted into a liquid. As the air in the bulb cooled or heated, the liquid rose or fell. The design was refined by others, and the first sealed thermometer was developed in the 17th century. The thermometer is now a common tool, but it was once a revolutionary invention. The compass was first used for navigation in Song Dynasty China around the 11th century. The Chinese used a magnetic needle floating in water to indicate direction, and the device was used for maritime navigation. The compass was later adopted by the Arabs and then by the Europeans, who improved the design. The compass made long-distance sea voyages possible, transforming trade and exploration. The pendulum clock was invented by Christian Huygens in 1656, and it was a significant improvement over earlier timekeeping devices. The pendulum regulated the movement of the clock, making it much more accurate. Huygens's design was based on the principle that the pendulum swings at a constant rate, regardless of the weight of the bob. The pendulum clock became the standard for timekeeping for the next 3 centuries. The microscope was invented by Zacharias Janssen around 1590, though the exact date is disputed. Janssen was a Dutch spectacle maker, and he discovered that by combining 2 lenses in a tube, he could magnify objects. The microscope was not widely used until Robert Hooke and Antony van Leeuwenhoek improved the design in the 17th century. The microscope opened up a new world, revealing the existence of cells and microorganisms. The astrolabe was used to measure the altitude of celestial bodies, but its exact origin is unknown. The instrument was likely developed by the Greeks or the Arabs, and it was used for navigation and timekeeping. The astrolabe was a sophisticated tool, but it was replaced by more accurate instruments in the 16th century. The astrolabe is a reminder of the ingenuity of early astronomers. The Mercator projection distorts the size of land masses, making Greenland appear larger than Africa. The projection was developed in 1569 by Gerardus Mercator, a Flemish cartographer, for navigational purposes. The distortion is a result of the projection's mathematical formula, which preserves direction at the expense of area. The Mercator projection is still widely used, but its limitations are well understood by modern cartographers. The Kelvin scale is an absolute temperature scale, based on the principles of thermodynamics. The scale was developed by William Thomson, Lord Kelvin, in the 19th century, and it begins at absolute zero, the point at which molecular motion stops. The Kelvin scale is used in scientific contexts, and it is the standard for measuring temperature in physics and chemistry. The scale is named after Kelvin, who made significant contributions to the field. The units of measurement, the meter, the kilogram, and the second, were standardized in 1799, following the French Revolution. The system was based on the decimal system, and it was intended to replace the multitude of local units that were used at the time. The metric system was gradually adopted around the world, and it is now the standard for most countries. The standardization was a remarkable achievement, but it took centuries to achieve. The hourglass is a simple timekeeping device invented in the 14th century. It consists of 2 glass bulbs connected by a narrow neck, with a set amount of sand that flows from one bulb to the other. The hourglass was used for navigation, cooking, and other tasks that required a fixed interval of time. The device was reliable and inexpensive, and it remained in use until the development of mechanical clocks. The study of measurement is called metrology, and it encompasses all aspects of measurement, including the development of standards and instruments. The field is essential for science, industry, and commerce, and it ensures that measurements are accurate and consistent. Metrology has a long history, and it continues to evolve with the development of new technologies. The sextant was invented in the 18th century, and it was used for navigation at sea. The instrument measures the angle between a celestial object and the horizon, allowing the navigator to calculate latitude and longitude. The sextant was a significant improvement over previous instruments, and it was used for the great voyages of exploration. The device is still used today on traditional sailing vessels. The slide rule was a mechanical computing device used for multiplication, division, and other calculations. The instrument was invented in the 17th century, and it was widely used in engineering and science until the advent of electronic calculators. The slide rule was a simple tool, but it was essential for the calculations that built modern industry. The computer as we know it evolved in the 20th century, starting with mechanical calculating machines and progressing to the electronic digital computer. The development of the computer is one of the most significant events in human history, transforming almost every aspect of modern life. The computer is the latest in a long line of instruments that humans have invented to extend their capabilities. The study of timekeeping is called horology, a field that includes the design and construction of clocks and watches. Horology is a complex discipline, combining precision engineering, materials science, and aesthetics. The field has a long history, and the invention of the mechanical clock in the 14th century was a major turning point. The first true clocks were the weight-driven mechanical clocks, developed in Europe in the late 13th century. These clocks used a system of gears and a falling weight to drive the hands, but they were not very accurate. The invention of the balance spring in the 17th century made clocks much more precise. The development of the watch followed, with the first watches appearing in the 16th century. The chronometer was a precision timepiece, designed for marine navigation. The first marine chronometer was developed by John Harrison in the 18th century, and it solved the problem of determining longitude at sea. The chronometer was accurate enough to be used for navigation, and it was essential for the development of global trade. The study of astronomical instruments is called astrometry, a field that focuses on the measurement of the positions and motions of celestial bodies. Astrometry was essential for the development of navigation and for the understanding of the solar system. The field continues to evolve, with the use of radio telescopes and other advanced instruments. The first reflecting telescope was developed by Isaac Newton in the 17th century. The telescope used a curved mirror instead of a lens to gather light, avoiding the chromatic aberration of the refracting telescope. The design was a significant improvement, and it is the basis for most modern telescopes. Newton's work was a quiet revolution in the study of the heavens. The final fact in this section concerns the most powerful microscope in the world, which is located in the United States. The microscope can magnify objects up to 10 million times, allowing scientists to see individual atoms. The instrument is used for research in materials science, biology, and other fields. It is a testament to the progress of human invention, a silent witness to the world beyond the visible. Let the names of places drift through the quiet dark. Canada takes its name from the Iroquois word Kanata, which simply means village or settlement. The word was used by the indigenous people to describe a specific settlement near what is now Quebec City. When French explorers heard the term, they applied it to the entire region, and the name eventually spread to the whole country. The original village is long gone, but its name lives on as the identity of a nation. Australia comes from the Latin australis, which means southern. The name was first used by ancient geographers to describe a hypothetical landmass in the southern hemisphere. When European explorers reached the continent in the 17th century, they adopted the name, recognizing it as the long-imagined southern land. The name is a simple geographical descriptor, but it carries the weight of centuries of speculation. Greenland is named after the Norse settlers who landed there in the 10th century, but the island was not particularly green. The name was likely a form of marketing, intended to attract settlers to the harsh and icy landscape. The settlers established colonies that lasted for several centuries, but they eventually disappeared. The name remains, a quiet reminder of the power of language to shape perception. Iceland was named by the Vikings who landed there, and the name refers to the ice that covers much of the island. The name is accurate, but it was also chosen for its descriptive power. The Vikings were practical people, and they named the island after its most prominent feature. Iceland is a land of contrasts, with glaciers and volcanoes coexisting in the same landscape. Japan comes from the Chinese name Ribenguo, which translates as Land of the Rising Sun. The name refers to Japan's position east of China, from which the sun appears to rise. The Chinese characters were adopted by the Japanese, and they have been used for centuries. The name reflects Japan's cultural and historical relationship with its larger neighbor. Korea comes from the Goryeo dynasty, which ruled the peninsula from the 10th to the 14th centuries. The dynasty was a period of cultural and political flourishing, and its name was adopted by the country. The name was later used by the Japanese and the Chinese, and it became the standard name for the peninsula. The name is a reminder of the country's long and complex history. Mexico comes from the Nahuatl word Mexico, which was the name of the valley where the Aztec capital was located. The Aztecs called themselves Mexica, and their capital was Tenochtitlan. The name was adopted by the Spanish, who used it to refer to the entire colony. The name carries the echoes of the Aztec civilization that flourished there before the Spanish conquest. Europe is named after the Phoenician princess Europa, a figure from Greek tradition. The name was later applied to the continent, and it has been used for thousands of years. The exact origin of the name is debated, but it is likely derived from the Semitic word for west. The name Europe is a reminder of the continent's ancient connections to the broader Mediterranean world. Asia is named after a region in Anatolia, which was called Asia by the ancient Greeks. The name was later extended to the entire continent, a vast and diverse landmass. The exact origin of the name is uncertain, but it was used by the Romans and the Greeks. The name Asia is now used to describe a continent of immense cultural and geographical diversity. Africa is named after the Afri tribe, which lived in the region of what is now Tunisia. The name was used by the Romans to refer to the province of Africa, and it was later extended to the entire continent. The name is a reminder of the Roman presence in North Africa, which lasted for centuries. The continent's name carries the weight of that history. Antarctica comes from the Greek anti-arctikos, which means opposite of the north. The name was given to the southern continent because it is the counterpart to the Arctic region in the north. The name was coined in the 19th century, before the continent was fully explored. Antarctica is a land of ice and isolation, and its name reflects its position at the edge of the world. America is named after Amerigo Vespucci, an Italian explorer who traveled to the New World in the early 16th century. Vespucci wrote about his voyages, and his descriptions were widely read in Europe. A cartographer named Martin Waldseemüller proposed the name America in his honor. The name was first used on a map in 1507, and it was gradually adopted for the entire continent. The study of place names is called toponymy, a field that examines the origins and meanings of geographical names. Toponymy is a branch of linguistics and historical geography, and it provides insight into the cultural and historical heritage of a region. The field is essential for understanding how places have been named and renamed over time. The word toponymy comes from the Greek topos, meaning place, and onyma, meaning name. The term was first used in the 19th century, and it has become the standard name for the study of place names. The field includes the analysis of names derived from personal names, occupations, and geographical features. Toponymy is a quiet field, but it has much to tell us about the past. The oldest known place name is likely the ancient Egyptian name for the city of Memphis, which dates to about 3100 BC. The city was called Inebu Hej, meaning the white walls, after the white limestone walls of the city. The name is a simple description, but it has survived for over 5,000 years. The name is a reminder of the city's ancient and enduring history. The word England comes from the Old English Engleland, meaning land of the Angles. The Angles were one of the Germanic tribes that settled in Britain during the early Middle Ages. The name was later adopted by the Normans, who used it to refer to the entire country. England is a name that reflects the history of its people. The word France comes from the Franks, a Germanic tribe that conquered the region in the 5th century. The Franks were a powerful tribe, and they gave their name to the country. The name France was first used in the 9th century, and it became the standard name for the kingdom. The name is a reminder of the Frankish conquest and the history of the country. The word Germany comes from the Latin Germania, which was used by the Romans to refer to the region east of the Rhine. The exact origin of the word is uncertain, but it is likely derived from a Celtic word for neighbor. The name was adopted by the English and other languages, and it is now the standard name for the country. The name is a reminder of the Roman presence in the region. The word Italy comes from the Italic tribes that lived in the region in ancient times. The exact origin of the name is uncertain, but it is likely derived from the word Vitulia, which referred to the land of the cattle. The name was adopted by the Romans, who used it to refer to the entire peninsula. Italy is a name that reflects the history of the land. The word Spain comes from the Phoenician word for land of the rabbits, which was used by the Carthaginians. The name was later adopted by the Romans, who used it to refer to the entire region. The name is a reminder of the Phoenician and Roman presence in Spain. The country's name has a long and complex history. The final fact in this section concerns the country with the longest name in the world, the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. The name is a constitutional term, and it reflects the complex history of the region. The name is a reminder of the political and historical divisions within the country. The longest name is often shortened in everyday use, but the full name is a testament to the country's intricate past. Let the numbers drift through the quiet air. Pi is an irrational number, meaning it cannot be expressed as a simple fraction, and it has been calculated to trillions of digits. The value of pi is approximately 3.14159, and it represents the ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter. The number has fascinated mathematicians for thousands of years, and its digits have been studied for patterns that never seem to emerge. The calculation of pi continues to be a challenge for modern computers, a quiet pursuit of precision. The Fibonacci sequence is a series of numbers where each number is the sum of the two preceding ones, starting with 0 and 1. The sequence begins 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, and it continues indefinitely. The sequence appears in nature, in the arrangement of leaves and the spirals of shells, though it was first described in the context of population growth. The sequence is named after Fibonacci, an Italian mathematician who introduced it to Europe. The golden ratio is approximately 1.618, and it appears in nature, in art, and in architecture. The ratio is found in the proportions of the human body, in the branching of trees, and in the spirals of galaxies. The ratio was known to the ancient Greeks, who used it in the design of buildings and sculptures. The golden ratio is a quiet presence, a mathematical constant that appears in unexpected places. The Pythagorean theorem is a fundamental principle of geometry, used to find the sides of a right triangle. The theorem states that the square of the hypotenuse is equal to the sum of the squares of the other two sides. The theorem was known to the Babylonians and the Egyptians, but it is named after the Greek mathematician Pythagoras. The theorem is one of the most important in mathematics, and it is taught in schools around the world. Euler's number is approximately 2.71828, and it is the base of natural logarithms. The number is named after the Swiss mathematician Leonhard Euler, who studied its properties. The number appears in many areas of mathematics, including calculus, probability, and complex analysis. Euler's number is a quiet constant, essential for understanding exponential growth and decay. Zero was invented independently in India and Mesoamerica, and it is one of the most important concepts in mathematics. The concept of zero as a placeholder and as a number was developed in India around the 5th century AD. The Maya also developed the concept of zero, independently of the Old World. Zero is the foundation of the decimal system, and it is essential for modern mathematics. The number 108 is significant in many cultures, and it is often used in religious and spiritual contexts. The number is approximately the distance from the Sun to the Earth, measured in solar diameters. The number also appears in the practice of yoga, where it is considered sacred. The number is a quiet presence, a reminder of the connections between mathematics and human experience. The number 72 is the number of threads in a square inch of fabric, a standard measurement used in the textile industry. The number is also associated with the number of disciples in some traditions. The number 72 is a practical unit of measurement, but it also has cultural and historical significance. The number is a small detail in the larger tapestry of human activity. The number 365 is the number of days in a year, but the exact length of the year is 365.2422 days. The extra fraction of a day is the reason we have leap years, which add an extra day every 4 years. The length of the year is determined by the Earth's orbit around the Sun, and it has been known since ancient times. The number 365 is a familiar figure, but it is only an approximation. The number 12 is used in dozens, inches, and months, and it is one of the most common numbers in human culture. The number is divisible by many smaller numbers, making it practical for counting and measurement. The number 12 is also associated with time, with 12 hours in a day and 12 months in a year. The number is a quiet constant, present in the rhythms of daily life. The number 7 is considered lucky in many cultures, and it appears in folklore and tradition. The number is also associated with the 7 days of the week, which were named after the 7 classical planets. The number is a common motif in literature and art, often representing completeness or perfection. The number is a quiet presence, a symbol of good fortune. The number 13 is considered unlucky in some cultures, and it is often avoided in everyday life. The fear of the number is called triskaidekaphobia, and it is a common superstition. The number is often omitted from buildings, and some airlines do not have a row 13. The number is a quiet reminder of the power of superstition, even in modern times. The study of numbers is called number theory, a branch of mathematics that explores the properties of integers. Number theory is one of the oldest areas of mathematics, and it includes the study of prime numbers, divisibility, and patterns. The field is pure mathematics, without direct application, but it has contributed to many areas of science and technology. The concept of negative numbers was developed in India in the 7th century, and it was later adopted by the Islamic world. The concept was initially met with resistance, as it seemed to contradict common sense. The acceptance of negative numbers was a quiet revolution in mathematics. The concept is now a standard part of arithmetic, used in all areas of mathematics and science. The concept of imaginary numbers was developed in the 16th century, and it was initially met with skepticism. The concept was used to solve equations that had no real solution, and it was considered a mathematical trick. The acceptance of imaginary numbers was a quiet revolution in mathematics. The concept is now essential for many areas of physics and engineering. The concept of infinity was developed by the ancient Greeks, and it has been a subject of philosophical debate ever since. The concept is used in mathematics to describe the unbounded nature of numbers. The concept of infinity is a quiet presence, a reminder of the limits of human understanding. The study of mathematical proofs is a central part of mathematics, and it is used to establish the truth of mathematical statements. The first known proofs were developed by the ancient Greeks, and they were a revolution in mathematical thinking. The proof is a formal argument based on logical reasoning, and it is the foundation of mathematical knowledge. The concept of mathematical truth is a fundamental question in philosophy, and it has been debated for thousands of years. The question of whether mathematics is discovered or invented is a central topic in the philosophy of mathematics. The question is a quiet mystery, a reminder of the limits of human knowledge. The final fact in this section concerns the number 42, which is a number that appears in popular culture, and it is known for its association with the meaning of life. The number was popularized by the science fiction writer Douglas Adams, who used it as a joke in his work. The number has become a cultural touchstone, a quiet symbol of the absurdity of trying to find meaning. The number is a reminder that not everything has to have a purpose. Let the edges of the known world recede into darkness. The Mariana Trench is the deepest point in the ocean, with the Challenger Deep reaching approximately 10,994 meters below the surface. The pressure at that depth is immense, over 1,000 times the pressure at sea level, and it compresses the water itself. The trench is located in the western Pacific Ocean, east of the Mariana Islands, and it is a place of near-complete darkness and cold. The exact depth continues to be refined with new measurements, but it remains a place of profound mystery. The Bermuda Triangle is a region of the Atlantic Ocean that has been associated with unexplained disappearances, but it is not officially recognized by any maritime authority. The triangle is roughly defined by the points of Miami, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico, and it covers an area of about 500,000 square miles. The rate of disappearances in the triangle is not significantly higher than in other heavily traveled waters, and most incidents have natural explanations. The legend persists, however, a quiet reminder of the power of mystery. Antarctica has no official time zone, as it is located at the South Pole, where all lines of longitude converge. The continent is divided into time zones based on the research stations that are located there, each using the time of its home country. The lack of a standard time zone is a practical matter, but it also reflects the continent's isolation and its unique status. Antarctica is a place of extreme cold and darkness, where the rhythm of day and night is determined by the seasons rather than the clock. The Amazon River is the largest river by volume, carrying more water than any other river on Earth, but the Nile River is the longest. The Amazon flows through South America, draining a vast basin that covers much of the continent. The river is home to an extraordinary diversity of life, including thousands of species of fish. The Amazon is a quiet giant, a reminder of the power of flowing water. The Dead Sea is the lowest point on land, at approximately 432 meters below sea level. The sea is a salt lake, bordered by Israel, Jordan, and the Palestinian territories, and it is known for its high salinity. The water is so salty that it is impossible to sink, and it is a popular destination for tourists. The Dead Sea is a quiet place of stillness, a reminder of the extremes of the natural world. Lake Baikal is the deepest freshwater lake in the world, containing about 20% of the world's unfrozen freshwater. The lake is located in Siberia, and it is estimated to be about 25 million years old, making it one of the oldest lakes on Earth. The lake is home to thousands of species, many of which are found nowhere else. Lake Baikal is a quiet wonder, a testament to the long history of the planet. The Caspian Sea is the largest inland body of water, but it is technically a lake, not a sea. The Caspian is bordered by 5 countries, and it is a major source of oil and natural gas. The Caspian is a remnant of a larger ancient sea, and it is home to the Caspian seal, one of the few seals that live in an inland water body. The Caspian is a quiet giant, a reminder of the shifting nature of the planet's water bodies. The Sargasso Sea is a region of the Atlantic Ocean that has no land boundaries, defined instead by the currents that surround it. The sea is known for its floating mats of sargassum seaweed, which provide habitat for a variety of marine life. The Sargasso Sea is a place of calm waters, a reminder of the subtle forces that shape the ocean. The Galapagos Islands are located on the equator, about 600 miles west of Ecuador, and they are known for their unique wildlife. The islands were the inspiration for Charles Darwin's theory of evolution, as he observed the variations in finches and other animals across the islands. The Galapagos are a quiet place of scientific discovery, a reminder of the power of observation. The Himalayas are the tallest mountain range on Earth, with Mount Everest rising to 8,848 meters. The mountains were formed by the collision of the Indian and Eurasian tectonic plates, and they continue to rise today. The Himalayas are home to some of the highest peaks in the world, and they are a place of immense natural beauty and danger. The mountains are a quiet presence, a reminder of the forces that shape the planet. The Thar Desert is the most densely populated desert in the world, located in India and Pakistan. The desert is home to millions of people who have adapted to its extreme conditions. The Thar is a place of sand dunes and sparse vegetation, a testament to the resilience of human life. The desert is a quiet challenge, a reminder of the limits of the environment. The study of the edges of the map is called cartographic history, a field that examines how maps have been created and used over time. Cartographic history includes the study of early explorers, surveyors, and map makers, and it explores the ways in which maps have shaped our understanding of the world. The field is essential for understanding the development of geography and exploration. The concept of an uncharted territory is called terra incognita, a Latin term that means unknown land. The term was used on old maps to describe regions that had not yet been explored. Terra incognita represented the limits of human knowledge, a quiet reminder of the vastness of the world. The concept is now more metaphorical, but it still has the power to evoke a sense of mystery. The earliest known maps were created by the Babylonians, dating to about 2300 BC. The maps were simple diagrams of cities and surrounding territories, drawn on clay tablets. The Babylonians were among the first to attempt to represent the world in a systematic way. The maps are a quiet testament to the human desire to understand space. The oldest known map of the world is the Babylonian map of the world, which is a clay tablet from the 6th century BC. The map shows the world as a flat disk, with Babylon at the center and the surrounding ocean as a ring. The map is a reflection of the Babylonian worldview, and it is one of the earliest surviving attempts to map the entire known world. The map is a quiet artifact, a reminder of the ancient desire to comprehend the earth. The practice of map-making is called cartography, and it has evolved significantly over the centuries. The field has moved from hand-drawn maps to digital representations, and it now includes satellite imagery and GIS systems. Cartography is a blend of art and science, and it continues to be essential for planning and navigation. The concept of a map as a representation of the world is a relatively recent development. For most of history, maps were used for practical purposes, such as navigation and administration. The idea of a map as a tool for understanding the world emerged during the Renaissance, with the development of more accurate surveying techniques. The shift was a quiet revolution in human thought. The final fact in this section concerns the most remote inhabited island in the world, which is Tristan da Cunha, located in the South Atlantic Ocean. The island is about 2,000 miles from the nearest continent, and it has a population of about 300. The island is only accessible by sea, with a voyage of several days from South Africa. Tristan da Cunha is a quiet place of isolation, a reminder of the edges of the map where human presence is thin. Let the small weights of the world settle into the quiet dark. A grain is the smallest unit of weight in the avoirdupois system, originally based on the weight of a single barley corn. The grain was used as a standard for weighing precious metals and medications, and it remains in use today for measuring gunpowder and arrowheads. The unit is a quiet constant, a reminder of the ancient practice of using natural objects as measures. The grain is tiny, barely perceptible to the human hand, yet it has been the foundation of measurement for centuries. A carat is exactly 200 milligrams, a standard that was established in 1907 to measure gemstones. The carat was originally based on the weight of the carob seed, which was used in ancient times as a counterweight for scales. The seed was thought to be remarkably consistent in weight, and it became a standard for precious stones. The carat is a quiet measure of value, a unit that determines the worth of diamonds and other gems. A carat measures the purity of gold, with 24 carats being pure gold and lower numbers indicating alloys. The carat system was developed to standardize the quality of gold used in jewelry and coinage. The system is based on the proportion of pure gold in an alloy, with each carat representing 1/24th part. The carat is a quiet mark of quality, a number that signifies the value of the metal. The micron is 1/millionth of a meter, and it is used to measure wavelengths of infrared radiation and the size of particles. The micron is also used in microscopy, where it describes the dimensions of cells and microorganisms. The unit is a tiny measure, invisible to the naked eye, and it is essential for many scientific fields. The micron is a quiet presence, a reminder of the small scales that govern the natural world. An angstrom is 1/10,000,000th of a meter, and it is used to measure atoms and molecules. The unit is named after the Swedish physicist Anders Jonas Ångström, who pioneered the study of spectroscopy. The angstrom is used in crystallography and chemistry, where it describes the distances between atoms in a crystal lattice. The angstrom is a tiny measure, a reminder of the invisible world that lies beneath the surface. A femtometer is 10 to the minus 15 meters, the size of a proton, and it is used in nuclear physics. The unit is so small that it cannot be perceived by any human sense, but it is essential for understanding the structure of matter. The femtometer is a quiet measure, a reminder of the fundamental forces that hold the universe together. The ounce was originally based on the weight of a Roman bronze coin, the uncia, which was 1/12th of a Roman pound. The ounce was used for weighing precious metals and goods, and it spread throughout the Roman Empire. The unit has evolved over time, but it remains in use today in the United States and the United Kingdom. The ounce is a quiet measure of weight, a reminder of the Roman legacy in measurement. The pound was originally based on the weight of 7,000 grains, a figure that was established in the 13th century. The pound was used for weighing goods and commodities, and it was one of the standard units of trade. The pound has evolved over time, but it remains in use today in the United States and the United Kingdom. The pound is a quiet measure of weight, a reminder of the long history of trade and commerce. The stone is a unit of weight equal to 14 pounds, and it is used in the United Kingdom for measuring body weight. The stone was originally used for weighing wool and other goods, and it was standardized in the 14th century. The stone is a quiet measure, a unit that is familiar to many, but used by few outside of the UK. The stone is a reminder of the regional differences in measurement. The slug is a unit of mass in the imperial system, equal to approximately 32.2 pounds. The slug is used in physics to measure mass in the context of force and acceleration. The unit is not commonly used in everyday life, but it is essential for engineering calculations. The slug is a quiet measure, a reminder of the technical side of measurement. The firkin is a unit of volume equal to 9 gallons, used for ale and beer in the United Kingdom. The firkin was originally a wooden cask, used for storing and transporting beer. The unit is still used in the brewing industry, though it is less common than it once was. The firkin is a quiet measure, a reminder of the traditional methods of brewing and storage. The hogshead is a unit of volume equal to 63 gallons, used for wine and other liquids. The hogshead was originally a large wooden cask, used for shipping and storing wine. The unit is still used in the wine industry, though it has been largely replaced by metric measurements. The hogshead is a quiet measure, a reminder of the history of wine and trade. The study of weights and measures is called metrology, a field that encompasses all aspects of measurement. Metrology is essential for science, industry, and commerce, and it ensures that measurements are accurate and consistent. The field has a long history, and it continues to evolve with the development of new technologies. Metrology is a quiet discipline, but it is essential for modern civilization. The earliest known system of measurement was developed in ancient Sumer, around 3000 BC. The Sumerians used a sexagesimal system based on the number 60, which is still used for time and angles. The system was used for trade and administration, and it spread throughout the ancient world. The Sumerian system was a quiet revolution, the foundation of all later measurement. The oldest known standard of length is the Egyptian cubit, which was based on the length of the forearm. The cubit was used for construction and surveying, and it was the basis for the measurement of land and buildings. The cubit was divided into smaller units, and it was standardized in the 3rd millennium BC. The cubit is a quiet measure, a reminder of the practical needs of ancient civilization. The development of the metric system in the 18th century was a significant event in the history of measurement. The metric system was based on the decimal system, and it was designed to be universal and rational. The system was gradually adopted around the world, and it is now the standard for most countries. The metric system was a quiet revolution, a step toward global standardization. The kilogram is the base unit of mass in the metric system, and it is defined by the International Prototype Kilogram, a cylinder of platinum-iridium alloy. The kilogram was originally defined as the mass of 1 liter of water, but it was later redefined in terms of a physical object. The kilogram is a quiet standard, a reminder of the physical basis of measurement. The meter is the base unit of length in the metric system, and it is defined as the distance traveled by light in a vacuum in a specific fraction of a second. The meter was originally defined as 1/10,000,000th of the distance from the North Pole to the equator, but it was later redefined in terms of the speed of light. The meter is a quiet standard, a reminder of the precision of modern science. The second is the base unit of time in the metric system, and it is defined as the duration of a specific number of cycles of a cesium atom's radiation. The second was originally based on the rotation of the Earth, but it was later redefined in terms of atomic time. The second is a quiet standard, a reminder of the precision of modern technology. The final fact in this section concerns the smallest unit of measurement used in physics, the Planck length, which is approximately 1.6 times 10 to the minus 35 meters. The Planck length is the scale at which the effects of quantum gravity become significant, and it is the theoretical limit of measurement. The Planck length is a quiet boundary, a reminder of the limits of human understanding and the vast scales of the universe. Let the vastness of the sky settle above you. The solar day is exactly 24 hours, but the sidereal day, which is measured by the rotation of the Earth relative to the stars, is 23 hours, 56 minutes, and 4 seconds. The difference is caused by the Earth's orbit around the Sun, which requires the planet to rotate slightly more than 1 full turn to face the Sun again. The sidereal day is the true measure of the Earth's rotation, a quiet constant that underlies our daily experience of time. The lunar month is approximately 29.53 days, which is the time it takes for the moon to complete its phases. This is the reason why the Islamic calendar, which is purely lunar, has 354 days in a year, rather than 365. The lunar month was the basis for many early calendars, and it remains a fundamental unit of time in many cultures. The lunar month is a quiet rhythm, a reminder of the moon's influence on human life. The tropical year is 365.2422 days, which is the reason we have leap years. The extra quarter of a day accumulates over 4 years, requiring the addition of an extra day to the calendar. The tropical year is measured by the Earth's orbit around the Sun, and it is the basis for the solar calendar. The tropical year is a quiet constant, a reminder of the Earth's journey through space. The Milky Way is approximately 100,000 light-years in diameter, but the exact number of stars it contains is unknown. The galaxy contains hundreds of billions of stars, but the exact count is difficult to determine because of the dust and gas that obscure our view. The Milky Way is our home galaxy, a vast collection of stars, planets, and other celestial objects. The galaxy is a quiet presence, a reminder of our place in the universe. The Andromeda Galaxy is approximately 2.5 million light-years away, and it is on a collision course with the Milky Way. The two galaxies are approaching each other at a speed of about 110 kilometers per second, and they are expected to merge in about 4 billion years. The collision will create a new galaxy, a quiet event on a cosmic timescale. The speed of light is exactly 299,792,458 meters per second, measured with extraordinary precision. The speed of light is a fundamental constant of the universe, and it is used to define the meter and other units. The speed of light is a quiet boundary, a limit that cannot be exceeded. The parsec is 3.26 light-years, and it is the distance to a star with a parallax of 1 arcsecond. The parsec is used in astronomy to measure the distances to nearby stars and other celestial objects. The unit is a quiet measure, a reminder of the geometric methods used to map the universe. The astronomical unit is 149,597,870.7 kilometers, which is the average distance from the Earth to the Sun. The astronomical unit is used to measure distances within the solar system, and it is a fundamental constant in astronomy. The AU is a quiet measure, a reminder of the scale of the solar system. The light year is 9.46 trillion kilometers, which is the distance light travels in 1 year. The light year is used to measure distances to stars and galaxies, and it is a common unit in popular science. The light year is a quiet measure, a reminder of the vastness of the universe. The cosmic microwave background has a temperature of 2.725 Kelvin, and it is the oldest light in the universe. The cosmic microwave background is the residual radiation from the Big Bang, and it is a crucial piece of evidence for the standard model of cosmology. The background radiation is a quiet presence, a reminder of the origins of the universe. The Hubble constant is approximately 70 kilometers per second per megaparsec, but the exact value is debated among astronomers. The constant describes the rate of expansion of the universe, and it is a fundamental parameter in cosmology. The exact value of the Hubble constant is a quiet mystery, a subject of ongoing research and debate. The Great Wall is a massive superstructure of galaxies, measuring approximately 1.4 billion light-years across. The Great Wall is one of the largest known structures in the universe, and it is a reminder of the large-scale structure of the cosmos. The Great Wall is a quiet presence, a testament to the vastness of the universe. The study of the sky is called astronomy, a field that encompasses all aspects of celestial observation. Astronomy is one of the oldest sciences, and it has been practiced by civilizations around the world for thousands of years. The field includes the study of stars, planets, galaxies, and the universe as a whole. Astronomy is a quiet discipline, a pursuit of understanding beyond the Earth. The concept of a light year is often misunderstood as a unit of time, but it is a unit of distance. The light year is the distance that light travels in 1 year, and it is a measure of the scale of the universe. The light year is a quiet measure, a reminder of the vast distances between stars. The oldest known astronomical observations were made by the Babylonians, who recorded the positions of the planets and the occurrence of eclipses. The Babylonians developed a sophisticated system of astronomy, which was used for timekeeping and astrology. The observations are a quiet testament to the early human interest in the sky. The concept of the celestial sphere is a model that represents the sky as a sphere surrounding the Earth. The model was developed by the ancient Greeks, and it is used to describe the positions and motions of celestial objects. The celestial sphere is a quiet abstraction, a tool for understanding the sky. The study of the solar system is called planetary science, a field that includes the study of the planets, moons, and other objects in the solar system. Planetary science is a branch of astronomy, and it has been revolutionized by space exploration. The field is a quiet pursuit, a study of our cosmic neighborhood. The concept of an orbit is a fundamental principle of astronomy, describing the path of one object around another. The orbit is determined by the gravitational attraction between the two objects, and it is the basis for the motion of the planets and the moon. The orbit is a quiet pattern, a reminder of the laws that govern the universe. The final fact in this section concerns the most distant known object in the universe, which is a galaxy located approximately 13.4 billion light-years away. The galaxy is seen as it was shortly after the Big Bang, and it is a quiet glimpse into the early universe. The galaxy is a faint speck of light, a reminder of the age and scale of the cosmos. Let the shape of sound dissolve into the quiet air. The decibel is a logarithmic unit, meaning an increase of 10 decibels represents a tenfold increase in intensity. The scale is used to measure sound levels, from the faintest whisper to the loudest jet engine. The logarithmic nature of the decibel means that our perception of loudness is not linear, but follows a curve that reflects the sensitivity of the human ear. The decibel is a quiet measure, a reminder of the complexity of sound. The hertz is a unit of frequency, equal to 1 cycle per second, and it is used to measure sound waves and electromagnetic waves. The hertz is named after Heinrich Hertz, who first demonstrated the existence of radio waves. The unit is fundamental to the study of acoustics and electronics. The hertz is a quiet constant, a measure of the rhythm of the natural world. The human ear can hear frequencies from 20 Hz to 20,000 Hz, but this range diminishes with age. The range is widest in childhood and narrows gradually as we grow older. The loss of hearing at high frequencies is a natural part of aging. The range is a quiet boundary, a reminder of the limits of human perception. The speed of sound is 343 meters per second in dry air at 20 degrees Celsius. The speed varies with temperature and humidity, increasing as the temperature rises. The speed of sound is a fundamental constant, a measure of how quickly vibrations travel through a medium. The speed is a quiet limit, a reminder of the physical properties of the air around us. The wavelength of sound is the distance between successive compressions, and it is inversely proportional to frequency. Higher frequencies have shorter wavelengths, while lower frequencies have longer wavelengths. The wavelength determines how sound interacts with objects, such as diffraction and reflection. The wavelength is a quiet property, a measure of the spatial extent of a sound wave. The amplitude of a sound wave is the maximum displacement of air molecules, perceived as loudness. The amplitude determines the intensity of the sound, with larger amplitudes producing louder sounds. The amplitude is a quiet measure, a reflection of the energy carried by the wave. The phase of a sound wave describes its position in its cycle, measured in degrees or radians. The phase determines how waves interact with each other, producing constructive or destructive interference. The phase is a quiet property, a factor in the complex behavior of sound. The timbre of a sound is determined by the harmonic content, which distinguishes a piano from a trumpet. The harmonic content is the mixture of frequencies that make up a sound, including the fundamental frequency and its overtones. The timbre is a quiet characteristic, a property that gives each instrument its unique voice. The Doppler effect is the change in frequency due to relative motion, observed as the pitch of a siren changing as it passes. The effect was first described by Christian Doppler in the 19th century. The Doppler effect is a quiet phenomenon, a reminder of the relationship between motion and perception. The resonance frequency of a system is the frequency at which it vibrates with maximum amplitude. The resonance frequency is determined by the physical properties of the system, such as its size and shape. The resonance is a quiet phenomenon, a principle that underlies the operation of many musical instruments. The overtone series is a sequence of frequencies that are integer multiples of the fundamental frequency. The overtone series is the basis of the harmonic structure of music, and it is a fundamental property of vibrating strings and air columns. The overtone series is a quiet pattern, a mathematical relationship that underlies the harmony of sound. The acoustic impedance is the ratio of pressure to particle velocity in a medium, and it determines how sound is transmitted and reflected. The impedance is a quiet property, a measure of how sound interacts with different materials. The study of sound is called acoustics, a field that encompasses the physics of sound waves, their production, transmission, and effects. Acoustics has a long history, and it has contributed to music, architecture, and engineering. The field is a quiet pursuit, a study of the vibrations that shape our world. The concept of sound as a wave was first proposed by the ancient Greeks, but the modern understanding was developed in the 19th century. The wave theory of sound was a quiet revolution, a shift from the idea of sound as a flow of particles. The wave theory is now the foundation of modern acoustics. The earliest known musical instruments were flutes, made from bone and wood, dating to about 40,000 years ago. The flutes were simple, but they demonstrate the early human interest in sound and music. The flutes are a quiet artifact, a reminder of the long history of human creativity. The study of hearing is called audiology, a field that examines the physiology and psychology of hearing. Audiology is concerned with hearing loss and its treatment, as well as the perception of sound. The field is a quiet discipline, a study of the sense that connects us to the world of sound. The concept of pitch is the perceived frequency of a sound, with higher frequencies perceived as higher pitches. The pitch is a quiet perception, a subjective experience that is related to the physical frequency. The perception of pitch is complex, and it is influenced by the harmonic content of the sound. The concept of loudness is the perceived intensity of a sound, which is related to the amplitude of the wave. Loudness is a quiet perception, a subjective experience that is influenced by frequency and duration. The perception of loudness is complex, and it is a subject of ongoing research. The final fact in this section concerns the lowest note ever recorded, which was produced by a subwoofer in a laboratory, with a frequency of about 1 Hz. The note is so low that it is below the range of human hearing, but it can be felt as vibration. The note is a quiet marvel, a reminder of the extremes of the acoustic world. Let the quiet structure of language drift through the dark. The word proximity has no true antonym in English, a linguistic gap that reflects the difficulty of expressing distance in a single term. We can say farness or remoteness, but these are not direct opposites in the same way that hot is opposite to cold. The absence of a perfect antonym is a quiet reminder of the limitations of language, the gaps that exist even in our most common words. The word sits alone, a modest example of how meaning can be asymmetrical. The Sapir-Whorf hypothesis suggests that language shapes thought, but it is a controversial idea, with strong evidence on both sides. The hypothesis was developed by Edward Sapir and Benjamin Lee Whorf, who argued that the structure of a language influences how its speakers perceive the world. The idea has been influential in linguistics and anthropology, though it has also been criticized. The hypothesis is a quiet debate, a question about the relationship between language and cognition. The languages of the Arctic have many words for snow, but the exact count is debated among linguists. The idea that there are dozens of words for snow is a popular myth, but the reality is more complex. The number of words varies across languages, and each language categorizes snow differently. The discussion is a quiet reminder of how language reflects the environment. The Pirahã tribe in Brazil has no words for numbers or colors, but they use specific terms for quantities and shades. The tribe communicates using a system of relative terms, such as few and many, rather than precise numbers. The Pirahã language is a quiet challenge to the idea that all languages share universal features. The tribe's language is a reminder of the diversity of human communication. The click sounds in Xhosa are borrowed from Khoisan languages, a linguistic feature that has been adopted and adapted over time. The clicks are used as consonants, and they are produced by the tongue and the palate. The sounds are a quiet addition, a feature that enriches the phonetic inventory of the language. The clicks are a reminder of the fluidity of linguistic borrowing. The silent letters in English, such as the K in night and the GH in through, are remnants of historical pronunciation. The letters were once pronounced, but the spoken language evolved while the spelling remained unchanged. The silent letters are a quiet record, a fossil of the history of the language. The letters are a reminder that language is always changing. The longest word in English is pneumonia ultramicroscopic silicovolcanoconiosis, a lung disease caused by inhaling fine dust. The word is a technical term, created by a puzzle maker in the 20th century to be the longest word. The word is a quiet curiosity, a demonstration of the ability of English to form compounds. The word is rarely used, but it remains a favorite for trivia. The Old English alphabet had 29 letters, including the letters thorn and eighth, which represented sounds that are now spelled with th. The alphabet was influenced by the Latin alphabet and the runic scripts of the Germanic tribes. The letters were gradually replaced by the modern alphabet, which has 26 letters. The Old English alphabet is a quiet artifact, a reminder of the historical development of the language. Grimm's law describes the consonant shifts from Proto-Indo-European to Germanic languages, a pattern identified by the German linguist Jacob Grimm. The law explains the systematic changes in certain consonants, such as the shift of P to F in English and German. The law is a quiet principle, a key to understanding the relationship between languages. The law is named after Grimm, who was also known for his fairy tales. Morse code was developed in the 1830s, and it is used to encode text as a series of dots and dashes. The code was designed by Samuel Morse and Alfred Vail, and it was used for the first telegraph messages. The code is a quiet system, a method of communication that revolutionized the transmission of information. The code is still used today in amateur radio and other applications. Braille uses 6 dots to represent letters, and it was invented by Louis Braille in the 19th century. The system was designed for people who are blind, and it is based on a tactile code. Braille is a quiet innovation, a method of reading that has transformed the lives of millions. The system is now used worldwide, a testament to the power of simple design. The International Phonetic Alphabet has 107 letters for phonetic transcription, representing the sounds of spoken language. The alphabet was developed in the 19th century, and it is used by linguists and speech therapists. The IPA is a quiet tool, a precise system for writing down the sounds of any language. The alphabet is a reminder of the diversity of human speech. The study of language is called linguistics, a field that encompasses the structure, history, and use of languages. Linguistics includes the study of phonetics, syntax, semantics, and pragmatics, among other areas. The field is a quiet discipline, a pursuit of understanding the human capacity for language. The concept of a dead language is a language that is no longer spoken, such as Latin or ancient Greek. Dead languages are often studied as historical artifacts, providing insight into the cultures that used them. The study of dead languages is a quiet discipline, a pursuit of understanding the past. The languages are a reminder of the change and continuity of human communication. The concept of a constructed language, such as Esperanto, is a language that has been created intentionally rather than evolving naturally. Esperanto was created in the 19th century to facilitate international communication. Constructed languages are a quiet experiment, a test of the possibility of creating a universal language. The study of language change is called historical linguistics, a field that examines how languages evolve over time. Historical linguistics includes the study of sound changes, grammatical changes, and lexical changes. The field is a quiet discipline, a pursuit of understanding the history of language. The concept of a dialect is a variety of a language, associated with a specific region or social group. Dialects are characterized by variations in pronunciation, vocabulary, and grammar. The study of dialects is a quiet discipline, a pursuit of understanding the diversity of language. The final fact in this section concerns the oldest known written language, which is Sumerian, dating to about 3400 BC. The language was written in cuneiform on clay tablets, and it was used for administrative and literary purposes. The language is a quiet relic, a reminder of the origins of writing. The language is no longer spoken, but it lives on in the records of ancient Mesopotamia. Let the quiet architecture of the body settle into the dark. The hyoid bone is the only bone in the human body that does not articulate with any other bone, floating instead in the neck, suspended by muscles and ligaments. It is shaped like a horseshoe, and it serves as an anchor for the tongue and the muscles of the throat. The hyoid is a quiet anomaly, a reminder that even the skeleton has its exceptions. The stapes is the smallest bone in the human body, located in the middle ear, where it transmits sound vibrations to the inner ear. The bone is about 3 millimeters in length, and it is shaped like a stirrup. The stapes is a quiet marvel, a delicate structure that is essential for hearing. The bone is a reminder of the precision of the human body. The femur is the longest and heaviest bone in the human body, accounting for about 25% of a person's height. The femur is a weight-bearing bone, and it is one of the strongest bones in the body. The femur is a quiet pillar, a support for the body's structure. The bone is a reminder of the forces that act on the skeleton. The small intestine is about 22 feet long, while the large intestine is only about 5 feet long. The small intestine is responsible for the absorption of nutrients, and its length provides a large surface area for this function. The large intestine is responsible for the absorption of water and the formation of stool. The intestines are a quiet system, a complex network that processes the food we eat. The heart beats about 100,000 times per day, pumping about 2,000 gallons of blood through the body. The heart is a muscular organ located in the chest, and it is essential for the circulation of blood. The heart is a quiet engine, a tireless pump that sustains life. The heart is a reminder of the continuous work of the body. The liver is the largest internal organ, weighing about 3 pounds, and it is located in the upper right abdomen. The liver performs over 500 functions, including the processing of nutrients and the detoxification of harmful substances. The liver is a quiet factory, a biochemical plant that keeps the body healthy. The liver is a reminder of the complexity of the body's chemistry. The skin is the largest organ, covering about 20 square feet, and it serves as a barrier against the environment. The skin is composed of multiple layers, including the epidermis, dermis, and hypodermis. The skin is a quiet shield, a protective layer that regulates temperature and sensation. The skin is a reminder of the body's interface with the world. The salivary glands produce about 1.5 liters of saliva per day, aiding in digestion and protecting the mouth. The saliva contains enzymes that begin the breakdown of food, and it also contains antibodies that fight infection. The salivary glands are a quiet system, a source of the fluid that keeps the mouth moist. The glands are a reminder of the continuous work of the digestive system. The gallbladder stores bile, which is produced by the liver, and it releases bile into the small intestine to aid in the digestion of fats. The gallbladder can be removed without significant harm, as the liver continues to produce bile. The gallbladder is a quiet organ, a storage tank that is not essential for survival. The gallbladder is a reminder of the adaptability of the body. The kidneys filter about 180 liters of blood per day, producing about 1.5 liters of urine. The kidneys are located in the lower back, and they are essential for the removal of waste products from the blood. The kidneys are a quiet filter, a pair of organs that maintain the body's chemical balance. The kidneys are a reminder of the constant work of the body. The lungs contain about 300 million alveoli, providing a surface area of about 75 square meters for the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide. The alveoli are tiny air sacs, where oxygen enters the blood and carbon dioxide is removed. The lungs are a quiet bellows, a pair of organs that enable respiration. The lungs are a reminder of the body's need for oxygen. The brain contains about 86 billion neurons, but the exact number is still being refined by neuroscientists. The brain is the control center of the body, and it is responsible for thought, emotion, and movement. The brain is a quiet network, a complex system of interconnected cells. The brain is a reminder of the mystery of consciousness. The study of the human body is called anatomy, a field that has been studied for thousands of years. Anatomy includes the study of the structure of the body and its parts, and it is a foundation for medicine. The field has a long history, with early contributions from the Greeks, the Romans, and the Islamic scholars. Anatomy is a quiet discipline, a pursuit of understanding the body's design. The study of the functions of the body is called physiology, a field that is closely related to anatomy. Physiology examines how the body works, including the functions of the organs and the systems that sustain life. The field has a long history, and it has been transformed by the development of modern science. Physiology is a quiet discipline, a study of the processes that keep us alive. The concept of a cell is the fundamental unit of life, and it was first described by Robert Hooke in the 17th century. The cell is a microscopic structure, and it is the building block of all living things. The cell is a quiet unit, a self-contained system that performs the functions of life. The cell is a reminder of the complexity of the living world. The concept of DNA was discovered in the 20th century, and it is the molecule that carries the genetic information of all living things. DNA is a quiet code, a sequence of chemical bases that determines the traits of an organism. The discovery of DNA has transformed the study of biology and medicine. The concept of the gene was first proposed by Gregor Mendel in the 19th century, and it is the unit of heredity. Genes are segments of DNA that code for specific traits, and they are passed from parents to offspring. The gene is a quiet unit, a carrier of information across generations. The gene is a reminder of the continuity of life. The concept of evolution was developed by Charles Darwin in the 19th century, and it is the process by which species change over time. Evolution is a quiet process, a slow accumulation of changes that shape the diversity of life. The theory of evolution is a foundation of modern biology. The final fact in this section concerns the number of bones in the human body, which is approximately 206 in an adult, but babies have about 300 bones, which fuse as they grow. The number of bones changes over time, a quiet process of growth and development. The bones are a reminder of the dynamic nature of the body, a structure that is always changing. Let the quiet history of the table settle around you. The fork was not commonly used in Europe until the 16th century, when it was introduced from the Byzantine Empire. The fork was initially met with suspicion, as it was seen as an affectation of the wealthy. The utensil was slow to gain acceptance, and it was not widely used until the 18th century. The fork is a quiet tool, a simple implement that transformed the way we eat. The spoon dates back to prehistoric times, made from wood, bone, or shell. The spoon was one of the earliest utensils, used for eating and cooking. The spoon has been found in archaeological sites around the world, a testament to its universal appeal. The spoon is a quiet constant, a tool that has been used for thousands of years. The knife was originally a hunting tool, not a dining implement. The knife was used for cutting and carving, and it was later adapted for use at the table. The knife has a long history, and it has been a part of human culture for millennia. The knife is a quiet tool, a sharp implement that has both practical and symbolic significance. The napkin was used by the Romans to wipe their hands, made from cloth or wool. The napkin was a practical item, used to clean hands and protect clothing. The napkin has evolved over time, and it is now a standard part of table settings. The napkin is a quiet accessory, a piece of fabric that adds a touch of elegance to the meal. The tablecloth was used to cover the table, but it was not common until the Middle Ages. The tablecloth was a sign of wealth and status, and it was often made from fine linen. The tablecloth has become a standard part of formal dining, though it is less common in everyday use. The tablecloth is a quiet decoration, a piece of cloth that transforms the table. The salt cellar was used to hold salt, which was a valuable commodity in ancient times. The salt cellar was often made from precious metals, and it was a symbol of status. The salt cellar has evolved over time, and it is now a standard part of the table setting. The salt cellar is a quiet container, a reminder of the importance of salt in human history. The pepper pot was used to hold pepper, which was traded along the Silk Road. Pepper was a valuable spice, and it was used to flavor food and preserve it. The pepper pot was often made from wood or metal, and it was a common item in wealthy households. The pepper pot is a quiet vessel, a reminder of the spice trade that connected the world. The teapot was invented in China during the Ming Dynasty, and it was used for brewing and serving tea. The teapot was made from clay or porcelain, and it was an essential part of the tea ceremony. The teapot spread to Europe in the 17th century, and it became a popular item for social gatherings. The teapot is a quiet vessel, a symbol of hospitality and relaxation. The coffee pot was invented in the 18th century, and it was used for brewing coffee. The coffee pot was made from metal or ceramic, and it was often decorated with intricate designs. The coffee pot became a common item in European households as coffee grew in popularity. The coffee pot is a quiet vessel, a symbol of the caffeine culture that spread around the world. The refrigerator was patented in 1834, but it was not widely used until the 20th century. The refrigerator was a revolutionary invention, allowing food to be kept fresh for longer periods. The refrigerator has become a standard appliance in modern kitchens, transforming the way we store and consume food. The refrigerator is a quiet machine, a testament to the power of technology. The microwave oven was invented in 1945, and it was based on radar technology developed during World War II. The microwave oven was initially large and expensive, but it became a common appliance in the 1970s. The microwave oven is a quiet device, a tool for heating food quickly and conveniently. The microwave is a reminder of the unexpected applications of scientific discovery. The dishwasher was invented in 1886, but it was not commercially successful until the 1950s. The dishwasher was a labor-saving device, designed to wash dishes automatically. The dishwasher has become a standard appliance in many kitchens, reducing the time and effort required for cleaning. The dishwasher is a quiet machine, a symbol of the mechanization of domestic life. The study of culinary history is a field that examines the food and cooking practices of the past. Culinary history includes the study of ingredients, techniques, and tools, and it provides insight into the social and cultural life of different eras. The field is a quiet discipline, a pursuit of understanding the role of food in human history. The first known recipe was written on a clay tablet in Sumeria, dating to about 1700 BC. The recipe was for a stew, and it listed the ingredients and the cooking method. The recipe is a quiet record, a glimpse into the culinary practices of ancient Mesopotamia. The first known cookbook was written by the Romans, and it was attributed to Apicius, a gourmand of the 1st century. The cookbook contains recipes for dishes such as stuffed dormice and fish sauce. The cookbook is a quiet artifact, a record of the dining habits of the Roman elite. The first known restaurant was established in France in the 18th century, and it served soups and other simple dishes. The restaurant was an innovation, offering meals to the public in a formal setting. The restaurant became a model for the modern dining industry. The first known coffee house was established in Constantinople in the 15th century, and it became a center for social and intellectual life. The coffee house was a gathering place for artists, writers, and merchants, and it played a key role in the spread of coffee culture. The final fact in this section concerns the most common food in the world, which is rice, a staple for more than half of the global population. Rice is a grain, grown in paddies around the world, and it is a foundation of many cuisines. The rice is a quiet presence, a simple food that sustains billions of people. Let the names of the stars drift through the quiet dark. Sirius is the brightest star in the sky, and its name comes from the Greek Sirios, meaning glowing or scorching. The name reflects the star's intensity, as it outshines all other stars in the night sky. Sirius is located in the constellation Canis Major, the Great Dog, and it is often called the Dog Star. The name is a quiet descriptor, a reminder of the star's brilliance. Betelgeuse is named from the Arabic Yad al-Jawza, meaning hand of Orion. The name refers to the star's position in the constellation Orion, where it marks the hunter's right shoulder. Betelgeuse is a red supergiant, one of the largest stars known, and it is nearing the end of its life. The name is a quiet translation, a word that has been passed down through centuries of astronomical observation. Rigel is from the Arabic rijl, meaning foot, and it refers to the star's position in Orion, where it marks the hunter's left foot. Rigel is a blue supergiant, one of the most luminous stars in the galaxy. The star is a quiet presence, a brilliant point of light in the winter sky. The name is a simple descriptor, a reminder of the star's location in the constellation. Vega is from the Arabic waki, meaning falling, as in the falling eagle. The name refers to the star's position in the constellation Lyra, the lyre, which was once depicted as a falling eagle. Vega is one of the brightest stars in the northern sky, and it has been used as a standard for astronomical measurements. The name is a quiet etymology, a word that reflects the star's mythological association. Altair is from the Arabic al-Nasr al-Ta'ir, meaning the flying eagle, and it refers to the star's position in the constellation Aquila, the eagle. Altair is a white main-sequence star, one of the closest bright stars to Earth. The name is a quiet translation, a word that evokes the image of a bird in flight. Aldebaran is from the Arabic al-Dabaran, meaning the follower, and it refers to the star's position in the constellation Taurus, where it follows the Pleiades across the sky. Aldebaran is an orange giant, one of the brightest stars in the winter sky. The name is a quiet descriptor, a reminder of the star's movement across the heavens. Polaris is named from the Latin Stella Polaris, meaning pole star, and it refers to the star's position near the north celestial pole. Polaris is a yellow supergiant, and it has been used for navigation for centuries. The name is a quiet descriptor, a word that reflects the star's function as a fixed point in the sky. Arcturus is from the Greek arctos, bear, and ouros, guardian, meaning guardian of the bear. The name refers to the star's position in the constellation Boötus, the herdsman, which follows the Great Bear across the sky. Arcturus is an orange giant, one of the brightest stars in the northern sky. The name is a quiet descriptor, a word that evokes the star's role in the celestial landscape. Capella is from the Latin capella, meaning little goat, and it refers to the star's position in the constellation Auriga, the charioteer. Capella is a yellow giant, one of the brightest stars in the winter sky. The name is a quiet descriptor, a word that reflects the star's association with the goat. Spica is from the Latin spica, meaning ear of grain, and it refers to the star's position in the constellation Virgo, where it represents the wheat in the maiden's hand. Spica is a blue giant, one of the brightest stars in the spring sky. The name is a quiet descriptor, a word that evokes the star's connection to the harvest. Procyon is from the Greek prokion, meaning before the dog, as it rises before Sirius, the dog star. Procyon is a yellow-white star, and it is located in the constellation Canis Minor, the lesser dog. The name is a quiet descriptor, a word that reflects the star's timing in the night sky. Antares is from the Greek anti-Ares, meaning rival of Mars, due to its red color. Antares is a red supergiant, and it is located in the constellation Scorpius, the scorpion. The name is a quiet descriptor, a word that compares the star to the red planet. The study of stellar nomenclature is called astronomy, a field that examines the names and classifications of stars. Astronomy is a branch of astronomy, and it includes the study of the origins and meanings of star names. The field is a quiet discipline, a pursuit of understanding the cultural and historical significance of the stars. The brightest stars in the sky have been named for thousands of years, and their names are often derived from Arabic or Greek. The names reflect the historical development of astronomy, as knowledge was passed from one culture to another. The names are a quiet record, a testament to the human fascination with the stars. The International Astronomical Union is responsible for the official naming of astronomical objects, including stars and planets. The IAU establishes the naming conventions, and it approves the names proposed by astronomers. The IAU is a quiet authority, a body that maintains the order of the celestial nomenclature. The concept of a star's magnitude is a measure of its brightness, with lower numbers indicating brighter stars. The magnitude system was developed by the ancient Greeks, and it has been refined over time. The magnitude is a quiet measure, a scale that allows us to compare the brightness of stars. The final fact in this section concerns the most distant star visible to the naked eye, which is about 16,000 light-years away. The star is a blue supergiant, located in the constellation Cassiopeia, and it is at the limit of human vision. The star is a quiet point of light, a reminder of the vastness of the universe. Let the quiet measurement of time slow to a stop. The second is defined as 9,192,631,770 cycles of a cesium-133 atoms radiation. This definition was established in 1967, replacing earlier definitions based on the Earth's rotation. The second is the fundamental unit of time in the International System of Units, and it is used to measure everything from the decay of atoms to the duration of a heartbeat. The definition is a quiet constant, a precise standard that underlies modern timekeeping. The minute is exactly 60 seconds, a convention inherited from the Babylonians, who used a sexagesimal system based on the number 60. The Babylonians divided the day into hours, minutes, and seconds, a system that has persisted for thousands of years. The minute is a quiet unit, a measure of time that is familiar to everyone. The minute is a reminder of the ancient origins of our timekeeping systems. The hour is divided into 60 minutes, but the length of an hour has varied historically, depending on the season and the culture. The ancient Egyptians divided the day into 12 hours of daylight and 12 hours of darkness, with the length of the hours varying with the seasons. The modern hour was standardized in the 14th century, when mechanical clocks became more common. The hour is a quiet constant, a unit that has been refined over time. The day is exactly 24 hours, but a solar day varies throughout the year, due to the Earth's elliptical orbit and axial tilt. The variation is small, but it accumulates over time, requiring the addition of leap seconds to keep our clocks aligned with the Earth's rotation. The day is a quiet rhythm, a cycle of light and darkness that has shaped human life for millennia. The week is 7 days, a convention from ancient Mesopotamia, where the number 7 was associated with the 7 celestial bodies visible to the naked eye. The week was later adopted by the Romans and the Jews, and it spread throughout the world. The week is a quiet cycle, a period of work and rest that has been a part of human culture for thousands of years. The month is approximately 29.5 days, based on the lunar cycle, which is the time it takes for the moon to complete its phases. The lunar month was the basis for many early calendars, and it remains a fundamental unit of time in many cultures. The month is a quiet rhythm, a reminder of the moon's influence on human life. The year is 365 days, but a tropical year is 365.2422 days, which is the reason we have leap years. The tropical year is measured by the Earth's orbit around the Sun, and it is the basis for the solar calendar. The year is a quiet cycle, a measure of the Earth's journey through space. The Gregorian calendar was introduced in 1582, replacing the Julian calendar, which had accumulated errors over the centuries. The Gregorian calendar adjusted the leap year rule, reducing the number of leap years and improving the accuracy of the calendar. The Gregorian calendar was adopted gradually around the world, and it is now the standard for most countries. The calendar is a quiet reform, a correction of the errors of the past. The Julian calendar had a leap year every 4 years, but it accumulated errors over time, as the tropical year is slightly less than 365 and a quarter days. The errors accumulated over the centuries, and by the 16th century, the calendar was off by about 10 days. The Julian calendar was a quiet error, a miscalculation that was corrected by the Gregorian reform. The Islamic calendar is purely lunar, with 354 days in a year, and it is used for religious purposes in the Islamic world. The Islamic calendar has no leap year, and it moves through the seasons over a cycle of about 33 years. The calendar is a quiet cycle, a measure of time that is based on the moon rather than the sun. The Chinese calendar is lunisolar, with months based on the moon and years on the sun. The Chinese calendar includes an extra month every few years to keep the calendar aligned with the seasons. The Chinese calendar has been used for thousands of years, and it is still used for traditional holidays and festivals. The calendar is a quiet system, a synthesis of lunar and solar cycles. The Mayan calendar had a 260-day sacred year and a 365-day solar year. The Mayan calendar was a complex system with multiple cycles that were used for religious and ceremonial purposes. The Mayan calendar was one of the most sophisticated calendars of the ancient world. The study of time is called chronometry, a field that encompasses the measurement of time, including the development of clocks and calendars. Chronometry is a branch of physics, and it is essential for navigation, astronomy, and many other fields. The field has a long history, and it has been transformed by the development of atomic clocks. Chronometry is a quiet discipline, a pursuit of precision in the measurement of time. The concept of time zones was developed in the 19th century in response to the expansion of railroads and telegraphs. The time zones were established to standardize time across regions, avoiding the confusion of local solar times. The time zones are a quiet system, a practical solution to the problem of global communication. The concept of daylight saving time was first proposed in the 18th century, and it was adopted during World War I as a way to conserve energy. Daylight saving time moves the clocks forward by 1 hour in the spring and back by 1 hour in the fall. The system is a quiet adjustment, a shift in the way we measure time. The concept of the leap second was introduced in 1972 to keep our clocks aligned with the Earth's rotation. The leap second is added to the last minute of the year or the half year as needed. The leap second is a quiet adjustment, a small correction to the measurement of time. The concept of the atomic clock was developed in the 20th century, and it is the most accurate timekeeping device ever invented. The atomic clock uses the vibrations of atoms to measure time, with an accuracy of 1 second in millions of years. The atomic clock is a quiet instrument, a marvel of modern technology. The final fact in this section concerns the longest time interval ever measured, which is the age of the universe, estimated at about 13.8 billion years. The age of the universe is measured by the cosmic microwave background and the expansion of the universe. The age is a quiet number, a reminder of the vastness of cosmic time. Let the quiet layers of the earth settle beneath you. The pedosphere is the outermost layer of the earth, comprising the soil that covers the land surfaces of the planet. The pedosphere is a thin layer, rarely more than a few meters thick, but it is essential for plant growth and for the support of terrestrial ecosystems. The layer is a quiet interface, a boundary between the atmosphere and the solid earth. The pedosphere is a reminder of the thinness of the living surface of the planet. Loam soil is a balanced mixture of sand, silt, and clay, and it is ideal for agriculture because of its good drainage and nutrient retention. Loam is the most productive soil type, and it is highly sought after for farming. The soil is a quiet medium, a combination of particles that provides the foundation for plant growth. Loam is a reminder of the importance of soil quality for human survival. Humus is the dark organic matter in soil, formed by the decomposition of plant and animal matter. Humus is rich in nutrients, and it improves the structure and water-holding capacity of the soil. Humus is a quiet substance, a product of the natural cycle of life and death. The humus is a reminder of the fertility of the soil. Permafrost is soil that remains frozen for at least 2 consecutive years, and it is found in the polar regions and at high altitudes. Permafrost is a massive store of carbon, and its thawing is a significant source of greenhouse gases. Permafrost is a quiet layer, a frozen archive of the past. The permafrost is a reminder of the sensitivity of the Earth's climate. Karst landscape is formed by the dissolution of soluble rocks like limestone, creating features such as caves, sinkholes, and underground rivers. Karst is a quiet landscape, a terrain shaped by the slow action of water. The karst is a reminder of the power of erosion and the hidden world beneath the surface. Caves are natural underground voids, formed by the dissolution of rock, and they are found in karst regions around the world. Caves are home to unique ecosystems, with animals that have adapted to life in total darkness. Caves are a quiet world, a hidden realm beneath the surface. The caves are a reminder of the unexplored spaces of the earth. Sinkholes are depressions in the ground, caused by the collapse of the surface layer over a void in the underlying rock. Sinkholes can form suddenly, and they can be destructive to buildings and infrastructure. Sinkholes are a quiet hazard, a reminder of the instability of the ground beneath our feet. Glaciers are massive bodies of ice, formed from the accumulation of snow over many years, and they form the largest freshwater reservoir on Earth. Glaciers cover about 10% of the Earth's land surface, and they are found in polar regions and high mountains. Glaciers are a quiet force, a slow-moving mass of ice that shapes the landscape. The glaciers are a reminder of the power of ice and the history of climate change. Aquifers are underground layers of rock or sediment that contain groundwater, and they are a vital source of fresh water for human use. Aquifers are recharged by rainfall and snowmelt, and they can be depleted by overuse. Aquifers are a quiet reserve, a hidden source of water that sustains life. The aquifers are a reminder of the importance of groundwater for human civilization. Bedrock is the solid rock beneath the soil and other unconsolidated materials, and it forms the foundation of the Earth's crust. Bedrock is composed of igneous, sedimentary, or metamorphic rock, and it is the source of the soil that covers it. Bedrock is a quiet base, the solid foundation of the continents. The bedrock is a reminder of the deep history of the Earth. The mantle is the layer between the Earth's crust and the core, composed of silicate rocks rich in magnesium and iron. The mantle extends to a depth of about 2,900 kilometers, and it is the largest layer of the Earth. The mantle is a quiet layer, a zone of high pressure and temperature that drives the movement of tectonic plates. The mantle is a reminder of the dynamic nature of the Earth's interior. The core is the center of the Earth, composed of a solid inner core and a liquid outer core. The inner core is about the size of the moon, and it is composed of iron and nickel. The outer core is liquid, and it is the source of the Earth's magnetic field. The core is a quiet center, the heart of the planet. The core is a reminder of the immense forces that shape our world. The study of the Earth's surface and subsurface is called geology, a field that encompasses the study of rocks, minerals, and the processes that shape the planet. Geology is one of the oldest sciences, and it has been essential for understanding the history of the Earth. The field is a quiet discipline, a pursuit of understanding the physical world. The concept of soil horizons is the vertical sequence of layers in the soil, which are formed by the processes of weathering and organic matter accumulation. The horizons are designated by letters, with the O horizon being the organic layer, the A horizon being the topsoil, and the B horizon being the subsoil. The soil horizons are a quiet record, a profile of the soil's history. The concept of the water table is the upper surface of the groundwater, which fluctuates with the seasons and with precipitation. The water table is a quiet boundary, a line that separates the saturated zone from the unsaturated zone. The water table is a reminder of the hidden water that lies beneath the surface. The concept of the water cycle is the continuous movement of water on, above and below the surface of the Earth. The water cycle includes evaporation, condensation, precipitation, and runoff. The water cycle is a quiet process, a cycle that sustains life on Earth. The concept of erosion is the process by which the surface of the Earth is worn away by wind, water, and ice. Erosion is a quiet force, a process that slowly reshapes the landscape. Erosion is a reminder of the constant change of the Earth's surface. The concept of sedimentation is the process by which sediment is deposited by water, wind, or ice, forming layers of rock over time. Sedimentation is a quiet process, a process that creates the sedimentary rocks that cover much of the Earth's surface. The final fact in this section concerns the deepest hole ever drilled by humans, which is the Kola super-deep borehole in Russia, reaching a depth of 12,262 meters. The hole was drilled for scientific purposes, and it provided valuable information about the Earth's crust. The hole is a quiet achievement, a testament to human curiosity and the desire to understand the world beneath our feet. The hole is a reminder of the limits of human exploration, even in the place where we live. Let the final numbers settle into the quiet dark. The total number of books in the Library of Congress is approximately 173 million, but the exact count is continuously changing as new items are added and old ones are withdrawn. The library is the largest in the world, and it contains items in more than 470 languages. The collection is a quiet accumulation, a testament to the breadth of human knowledge. The library is a reminder of the vastness of recorded information. The exact number of species on Earth is unknown, with estimates ranging between 8.7 million and 1 trillion, depending on the definition of a species and the methods used for counting. The majority of species are insects, and many of them have not yet been described by science. The number is a quiet estimate, a reminder of the diversity of life and the limits of human knowledge. The total number of atoms in the observable universe is estimated at 10 to the 80th power, a number so large that it is almost incomprehensible. The estimate is based on the density of matter in the universe and the size of the observable universe. The number is a quiet approximation, a reminder of the vastness of the cosmos. The total length of all roads on Earth is approximately 64 million kilometers, a distance that would stretch from the Earth to the Moon and back more than 80 times. The road network is a quiet infrastructure, a system that connects communities and enables transportation. The total length is a reminder of the human impact on the landscape. The total number of steps in the Mayan pyramid of Kukulkan is 365, representing the days of the year. The pyramid is located in Chichen Itza, and it was designed as a calendar, with the steps aligning with the solstices. The pyramid is a quiet monument, a testament to the astronomical knowledge of the Maya. The exact number of bricks in the Great Wall of China is unknown, but it is estimated at about 3.8 billion, based on the length of the wall and the average size of a brick. The wall was built over many centuries, and the exact count is impossible to determine. The number is a quiet estimate, a reminder of the scale of the construction. The total length of the Nile River is 6,650 kilometers, but the exact source of the river is debated, with some sources tracing it to Lake Victoria and others to the mountains of Rwanda. The river is the longest in the world, and it has been a source of life for thousands of years. The length is a quiet measure, a reminder of the river's importance to human civilization. The total number of stars in the Milky Way is estimated at 100 billion, but this is a rough estimate, and the actual number could be higher or lower. The number is based on the mass of the galaxy and the average mass of a star. The estimate is a quiet approximation, a reminder of the vastness of our galaxy. The exact number of neurons in a human brain is approximately 86 billion, a number that was only determined recently using improved counting techniques. The number is a quiet fact, a measure of the complexity of the brain. The estimate is a reminder of the intricate structure of the human mind. The total weight of all humans on Earth is approximately 316 million tons, based on the global population and the average body weight. The weight is a quiet measure, a reflection of the collective mass of humanity. The number is a reminder of the scale of the human population. The total number of cells in the human body is estimated at 30 trillion, a number that includes all the different types of cells, from muscle cells to nerve cells. The number is a quiet estimate, a measure of the complexity of the body. The number is a reminder of the intricate organization of the human organism. The total number of bacteria in the human body is about 39 trillion, outnumbering human cells by a significant margin. The bacteria are found in the gut, on the skin, and in other parts of the body, and they play a vital role in digestion and immunity. The number is a quiet fact, a reminder of the symbiotic relationship between humans and microorganisms. The study of the total number of things is called enumeration, a field that is concerned with the process of counting and measuring. Enumeration is a fundamental activity in many fields, from demography to ecology. The field is a quiet discipline, a pursuit of accurate measurement. The concept of a census is the official counting of a population, and it has been used for thousands of years for taxation and governance. The census is a quiet tool, a method of understanding the composition of a population. The concept of a statistical estimate is a number that is derived from a sample, rather than from a complete count. Estimates are used when it is impractical to count everything, and they are a quiet tool for making inferences about a population. The concept of a large number is a number that is too large to be comprehended intuitively, and it is often used to describe quantities in astronomy and physics. Large numbers are a quiet challenge, a reminder of the limits of human understanding. The final fact in this section, and in this entire collection, is the number of known shipwrecks in the Baltic Sea, which is approximately 100,000. The Baltic Sea is a shallow sea, and its cold waters have preserved many wrecks, offering a unique record of maritime history. The number is a quiet total, a final tally of the vessels that have been lost in the sea. The shipwrecks are a quiet presence, a reminder of the history that lies beneath the surface. Let your breathing slow to match the quiet rhythm of the dark. If you are still listening, you have traveled through 20 sections of small, odd facts. The weight of grains, the names of stars, the number of shipwrecks beneath the Baltic Sea. None of it needs to be remembered. The mind, in its kindness, will let most of it drift away, like sand through an hourglass, like the slow erosion of a mountain, like the silent turning of the earth on its axis. There is no conclusion to reach, no lesson to take away. The point was never to learn anything at all. The point was to give your restless brain something soft to hold on to, so it could finally let go. And if you drifted off somewhere between the hyoid bone and the Hubble constant, that is exactly what was meant to happen. The facts were never the destination. They were just the path. So here is one final number to carry with you into sleep. Approximately 100,000 known shipwrecks lie in the cold waters of the Baltic Sea. Each one is a story that has been forgotten, a journey that never reached its end. They rest there, silent and still, beneath the surface. Let that be the last thing you almost hear. The mind is quiet. The weight of the day is gone. There is nothing left to solve, nothing left to count, nothing left to understand. Just the dark, and the soft rhythm of your own breath, and the gentle permission to stop paying attention. Good night.